5 minutes, the cars are going to fire up, and we're going to go 500 miles here this afternoon in the Winston 500. I'm Bob Jenkins. We welcome you to our coverage of this event. Now, it's been very difficult for us to entertain ourselves here in the past 24 hours with all the rain. We played little cards, and earlier today when it looked like we were going to get rained out again, our two pit reporters engaged in a little song and dance, a little singing in the rain. Now we've had body shaping and bodies in motion and bodies by Jake. Let's go to Jerry Punch, bodies in traction. Jerry, what's going on at pit road?
Exactly, Bob. I guess we have to do something to try to pass the time when it rains. And after talking to Daryl Waltrip yesterday, I think it's contagious. What he had, maybe I got and gave to John Kernan. But the good news, fans, is that no more dancing from Punch and Kernan. We're going to have racing NASCAR style. You look behind me here, the drivers are getting in their cars. Dale Earnhardt is climbing his car, Rusty Wallace. And, of course, right here, Ricky Rudd, the current Winston Cup point leader, is climbing the Tide Chevrolet. Waddell Wilson getting him buckled in. We're going to set to go racing the 22nd annual Winston 500. The drivers are eager for racing, as are you, and I'm tired of dancing. So let's get ready and have the big dance here at the big Speedway, Bob.
Well, everybody certainly is anxious to get this thing started. Benny, it has been a long 24 hours for a lot of people.
And especially the drivers, Ned, because yesterday they were keyed up. The adrenaline was flowing. They were ready for the Winston 500. Now, 24 hours later, they're still ready, but the adrenaline has subsided somewhat. Now it's going to take about 30 or 40 laps to get that adrenaline flowing again.
Well, we see Ernie Irvan buckling up in his car. He'll be on the pole position.
And indeed, let's take a look now at the die-hard starting grid for today's Winston 500. Ernie Irvan will start from the pole, qualifying at 195.106. He is in the Kodak Film Chevrolet number 4. Harry Gant starts alongside. He's from Taylorsville, North Carolina, and driving the number 33 Skoal Bandit Oldsmobile. Second row is Kyle Petty in the mellow yellow Pontiac number 42, and Davey Allison from Hueytown, Alabama, in the Hamilton Ford number 28. Daryl Waltrip starts in 5th position in the Western Auto Chevrolet car 17, and then Ricky Rudd from Chesapeake, Virginia, in the Tide Chevrolet car number 5. The number 2 Miller Genuine Draft Pontiac, driven by Rusty Wallace, will go from the 4th row. Alongside him will be Dale Earnhardt in the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet car 3. Bill Elliott starts in 9th position in the Coors Light Ford. He's from Dawsonville, Georgia. And then Lake Speed in the number 66 Trop Arctic Pontiac. He's from Jackson, Mississippi. The Budweiser Ford, driven by Jeff Bodine, starts 11th this afternoon. And the number 12 car of Hut Strickland, the Rebestus Brakes Buick, will start in 12th position. Rick Mast will go from 13th in the Skoal Classic Oldsmobile car number 1, flanked by Bobby Hamilton. The 8th row consists of Alan Kulwicki and Brett Bodine. In the 9th row will be Chad Little, number 19, Ken Schrader, number 25. The 10th row, 22, Sterling Marlin, and 30, Michael Waltrip. In the 11th row will be Mickey Gibbs in 24 and Dale Jarrett in 21. Row 12, Derry Cope in 10, Terry Labonte in 94. The 13th row, 47, Greg Sachs, 43, Richard Petty. The 14th row consists of Phil Barkdale in 73 and Mark Martin in number 6. Going to row number 15 is Jimmy Spencer in 98 and Rick Wilson in number 8. Stanley Smith and Wally Dallenbach Jr. in cars 49 and 90 go from the 16th row. Morgan Shefford and Joe Ruttman in row 17. The 18th row consists of Bobby Hillen in number 20 and Jimmy Means in 52. Row number 19, Buddy Baker and Ted Musgrave. The 20th row, Jeff Purvis and Larry Pearson. And starting in 41st position, taking a provisional to get into the field, number 71, Dave Marcus. And the sun is about to peek through. Believe it or not, there was a time that I thought I'd never see the sunshine again.
It's been a while.
Man, I tell you, we rained about 3 inches here at the racetrack yesterday in about a 3-hour period. And as I said, it rained this morning, and it looked for a while as if we may not be able to get this race in. However, it looks good now as the cars are about to fire up.
I heard some comment that Larry Pearson in the Kellogg's car had a dead battery, and I wonder if NASCAR is going to allow them to charge the battery, change the batteries, just exactly what mechanically these drivers can do to the cars, because, Ned, the race never was started, was it?
No, the green flag never fell, and so it was not officially started, but they certainly had certain rules that they went by as far as what they could do on pit road, and it did not include changing those kind of things, but I'm sure they didn't expect that type of situation, so who knows what they will be allowed to do.
For all you race fans that are watching, stay with us because we're going to have flag-to-flag uninterrupted coverage this afternoon. The regularly scheduled programming on ESPN during the afternoon will be preempted so that we can bring you every lap of this 188-lap event known as the Winston 500 from Talladega Superspeedway. In about 5 minutes, they're going to fire the engines. The track is looking very, very good. And despite the fact that we're 24 hours beyond where we wanted to start it, there's a good crowd on hand here, set to watch stop number 9 on the Winston Cup Tour for 1991. Our Speed World coverage is being brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud. By Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Stand by for live flag-to-flag coverage of the Talladega Superspeedway's Winston 500 after this.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
That's the sound that all of us have been waiting on. The command to actually refire the engines after yesterday's rainout. The drivers are getting set to go 500 miles here at the world's fastest speedway, Talladega Superspeedway.
And Bob, I'm sure there were some of those drivers in those cars, there may be most of them, that were very anxious. This is the first time that they fired those cars since they pulled them on pit road. They were left out on pit road. Most of them had them covered last night, but they didn't know if those things were going to fire or not.
That's exactly what I was thinking, and I've been looking at pit road to see if there's any scrambling around. I don't see any yet.
Let's go down to Jerry Punch on pit road.
Well, there is some concern here in the motorcraft pits, and that's driver Morgan Shepherd in the car behind us. We're talking with Greg Moore, who is the son of Bud Moore, car owner, and Greg's involved with the engine building along with brother Daryl. Greg, yesterday you ran some laps with the rain on the track, and then you were concerned that the car may be on 7 cylinders. What happened?
Well, Jerry, we run so many laps under the caution, before they gave the green. There is a possibility that we've fouled a spark plug. We're going to crank it up and run a few laps and see how it runs, and hopefully it clears out, but right now we just don't know.
Will NASCAR allow you to come in and change the plugs without being penalized if you're going to run 3 or 4 laps of warm-up?
I believe they will. I believe we can do that, but we're hoping that we're not going to get in that situation. We hope that it will clear out. We go ahead and start. If we do come in under the caution, we will have to start in the rear, but we are starting back pretty far back anyway, so it shouldn't make a lot of difference.
Some concern here in the motorcraft pits for Morgan Shepherd and the motorcraft team. Let's go up to John Kernan, who's standing by with Gary Nelson. John?
Thank you, Jerry. It has been 24 hours since these cars were last out on the racetrack. A lot of rain out there, Gary. You were unable to make any adjustments to the cars this morning. From a crew chief's point of view, how do you play out the strategy of the early laps?
Well, there's been a lot of compromises here. Kyle and I talked. We didn't get any practice Saturday afternoon because of rain. That's really our most important practice. Then yesterday we almost got a few laps in before the rain came, and then we didn't get any high-speed laps there. So really we had to compromise on the jetting. We had to compromise on the setup. Hopefully we guessed it just right. And then today there's a higher pressure and cooler temperatures. So we're kind of concerned about the jetting in the carburetor. Hope we have enough fuel in it. Hope we're not too lean for the current conditions, but I think we're going to be okay. And really, it's the same for all the teams, so it's going to be an interesting day.
On the track, though, do you tell them to take it easy at first just to feel things out? Do you think that's what everyone will do?
Well, that's pretty typical here for Talladega. Everybody runs so close together. It'd be nice to lead a lot of laps here, but what we really want to do is lead the last lap, and we want to have a car that's still competitive at the end and not getting in any trouble early. So we're sure going to give everybody plenty of room and not be too concerned of where we fall in the early stages. We just don't want the leaders to get away from us.
That's one thing. They don't have to worry about a lot of the traffic in the back because Kyle is starting right behind the pole sitter, Ernie Irvin. And Bob, the car is still sitting here on pit road as they're waiting for the engines to come up to the proper temperature.
But they should be moving away momentarily. And by the way, Kyle Petty was the lap leader at the last restrictor plate race at Daytona.
Gary Nelson mentioned jetting and the concern they have whether or not the jets are big enough. jet is a piece that there's 4 of them that screws into a carburetor with a hole in them that allows fuel to go through the carburetor. And they open the hole or close the hole, and that allows more or less fuel to go in. You want to run the exact amount of fuel in. Not if it's too much, if it's too rich, the car won't run properly. If it's too lean, the hole is too small, that's what we call too lean. Then the cylinders get too warm for lack of fuel, and that's what they say when they burn a piston. Really and truly, the cylinders get too warm, and the piston just simply melts.
And we saw some cars experience that very thing earlier this weekend before and during the practice and the qualifying.
Martin burned 2 pistons in his practice engines, and that's one thing that hurt his qualifying effort is that his 2 best race engines, boom, he goes on the racetrack, burns a piston. And therefore, he had to go to a backup engine, which is basically an engine that he would use on a big track and not the restrictor engines.
Let's get more on this as we go back down to Dr. Punch.
You're looking at Mike Kennedy, who's with Pontiac Research and Development, who built the engine for the Rusty Wallace car today. And Mike, a lot of concern, although the weather changes drastically from yesterday to today. What would you like to have done to the engine to adjust for the temperature today?
Well, maybe just a little bit less timing in the engine, a little bit more jet. Seems like the barometer's up a little bit and the weather's a little bit cooler, so it's going to make the engine leaner.
How will this affect your gas mileage? We talked about gas mileage may be a critical calculation in today's race. How will the weather change have an effect on that?
I don't think it'll have a big effect because we couldn't retune the engine, so we're still going to get about the same mileage.
Mike Kennedy, one of the engine builders. Mike, will let you go on up to the Rusty Wallace pits. He is one of the reasons the Pontiacs are running so much better on the restrictor plates here at Talladega.
So what we really have said here in the last 3 or 4 minutes is that it is a guessing game. It is a shoot right now that nobody really knows what's going to happen in the first few laps of this event. But in any case, the cars have moved on to the 2.6-mile racetrack, and at about 5 more laps of caution, they will be getting the green for the start of the Winston 500. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more live coverage from Talladega, Alabama. This coming lap, I believe they're going to be, instead of coming down through the tri-oval, Jerry, they're going to come in through the pit area?
Exactly, Bob. They are going to bring them down pit road. You see behind me up pit road, there are still a few areas that may be a little bit damp on the margin of pit road out toward the grass. So what they decided to do for safety reasons is to bring the field out of turn 4, and they will turn them and bring them down pit road here one time. They've gone by and warned all the crews to make sure everyone is off pit road. They're going to be coming now down the short chute, and the Pontiac pace car will bring them down pit road. And remember, the pit speed can be only about 56 miles an hour, so they will slow the pace car down, and all the crews will be able to tell their driver, look at the tachometer right now, make sure you know exactly how many RPMs you're turning. This has to be your speed during pit stops on race day. Now Ernie Irvin in the field, passive review, 40 starters here, and we'll get some air as the drivers now signal their crew members to try to drive pit road, and we will next time by and look for the green flag. Bob?
These drivers have got to be very antsy. How would you feel, Benny, at this point, having waited 24 hours? You've been out there 5 laps now. I imagine you're ready to go, aren't you?
Well, not really. As I said a little bit ago, the adrenaline, you was pumped up yesterday, and the adrenaline kind of went away. Now, it's going to take 20 or 30 laps to get that adrenaline going, the adrenaline that you need to win a Winston Cup stock car race.
Dale Jarrett carrying one of our in-car cameras. So is Lake Speed. The Phillips 66 in-car camera. Lake with an excellent qualifying run. Begins from 10th position. And our third in-car camera this afternoon is being carried by Hud Strickland, the Ray Vestas Buick car. Channel lock in-car camera will be showing us the pictures from Hud Strickland's machine. As you can see, the lights are out on top of the pace car as the field now heads for turn number 3. And within just a matter of moments, we will get a start to the Winston 500, and it's going to be almost 24 hours. Looks like they're going to get the green flag at about 5 minutes to 1 on Monday instead of 1 o'clock on Sunday. That is, of course, Central Time.
Hard to believe we're actually going to see a race down in turn 1 after we've been in this booth. Seems like we've lived in here for the last 24 hours.
As I said, there was storm damage, even the report of tornadoes. We were told to get out of the booth yesterday. They evacuated the grandstand because of the potential of 45 to 50 mile an hour winds, but all that is behind us. And now the only thing we can think of is 500 miles of competition. The fans are back for the start of the Winston 500. The pace car pulls off the racetrack and heads for pit road. The 41 car field moves through the tri-oval. Now remember, the starting line here is down toward turn number 1, past the tri-oval. Here comes Ernie Irvin and the others. They begin to accelerate toward the green flag. It is out, and the Winston 500 is finally underway. Down to complete lap number 1. Irvin has the lead. Kyle Petty running second. The battle for third position is between Davey Allison and Daryl Waltrip. 2 by 2 into turn number 1.
Boy, look at Daryl Waltrip on the end. Kyle Petty on the outside. Ernie comes down. They're going to be a 3 abreast.
Ernie gets sandwiched by Daryl Waltrip on the low side and Kyle Petty on the outside. Remember, drafting is so important here. You don't want to get out of the draft, and it looks like Ernie may be out of the draft in the middle.
Now Daryl Waltrip's 3 deep in the middle going in turn 3. Back to the lead. Kyle Petty, Davey Allison, Ricky Rudd, and here's Earnhardt up to 4th already.
Very seldom you see them get out of the draft in the middle of the pack. Usually it's only either the outside or the inside.
Here they come down to complete lap number 2. It's Kyle Petty leading Davey Allison. Ricky Rudd has moved up to 3rd, then Earnhardt, then Lake Speed, and running side by side, Harry Gant.
And here's trouble going into turn 1. It's Larry Pearson down on the inside.
Pearson is
sliding hard back up into the wall.
Of course, when you hit that grass, it is so wet that it really accelerates the car, and that's exactly what happened as he slid through the grass, went up the banking, hit the wall hard with the rear end of the car, but he did not get upside down. That was our fear, but he did have heavy contact with the wall. The field will be taking the yellow flag as it comes down here. They'll be racing back to the yellow, and Kyle Petty will come down and receive the yellow flag, the first of the afternoon. Let's take a look again at what happened. Larry Pearson running in the back of the field.
They were seeing he's already sideways, and when he got in the mud, it literally looked like the car picks up. There's no grip at all, and up it backs in the retaining wall.
Boy, what a roller coaster ride that was for Larry Pearson. And King Richard Petty comes in, and the right front isn't moving.
Looks like the fender is laid back on the right front tire and not allowing it to turn. So there's some pretty serious damage to Richard's car.
And Richard was looking forward to a good run here. He ran good at Daytona back in February and was looking forward to a good day today. Let's go to this, Jerry Punch.
Indeed he was, Dad, after running so well in the qualifiers at Daytona, finishing second there, and now they spend so many hours massaging the body on these cars to try to get them to run so slickly at 190 plus miles an hour. And now Robbie Loomis and the rest of the STP crew going to work on the right front fender. You hear them in the background now they will try to change those right side tires. Richard sitting quietly and calmly in the car, but apparently they will have some work cut out for him to try to pull that sheet metal and fender away. And although they probably will be able to get the car back in the race, they certainly will have an aerodynamic disadvantage with that crumpled sheet metal on the right front.
Also some damage to the suspension on that right front because the tire just can't take that hard a lick and not bend something, the ball joints, the steering, some of the mechanism.
And the field is coming around now as they continue to work on the STP Pontiac. He is about to go a lap down.
So Richard Petty, one of 2 cars damaged in an accident toward turn number 1. Larry Pearson, of course, the other one. As you can see, the field is passing by, putting Richard down 1 lap here in the early going. So our first caution period is out here at Talladega Superspeedway in the Winston 500. We'll be back with more live coverage right after this. Still under caution as the pace car completes another lap, and there was no indication from the Doyle Ford, the starter, that we would go green next time around, so it'll be at least 2 more laps before we can go back to green. Larry Pearson involved in a crash up in turn number 1. Richard Petty and Chad Little also with a separate incident. And here is Morgan Shepherd moving on to pit road.
And it looks like one of the crew members is in the front, maybe putting some tape over part of the grill of the car. There's Dave Marcus in the pits as well. Might not be coming up to temperature, so they put a little piece of tape on there to stop some airflow going in there.
Morgan comes out of the pits, as does Dave Marcus. And just ahead of Morgan Shepherd is the 55 car of Ted Musgrave. Remaining on pit road at the moment is Chad Little. Now again, Richard Petty's car has been taken back to behind the wall to get some work done, but there is Chad as they try to work on it. You can see that there was some contact there on the left front of Chad's car.
Yeah, you can see it right behind the left front wheel and even in front of the wheel, so he has rubbed with someone, and it apparently was Richard Petty.
They are using a smaller restrictor plate here at Talladega than they did a year ago, and that's going to make passing very difficult. Benny asked several drivers earlier, how do you pass here with the new restrictions?
I'm still trying to figure it out, Benny. We've been out there practicing. I can't get around nobody up. You know, once the race starts, you start working traffic, and somebody moves one way to try something, and it opens up a whole different. It'll be easier to pass come Sunday. When you get a couple cars that are the same speed, you're just not going to pass.
You know, I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different than Daytona. It's just, you know, the cars are got to handle good. And if people get where they're trying to make the cars loose enough to go fast, then they're going to start getting where they can't hold it wide open. So I think that's when we're going to figure out when we can pass them, is, you know, the cars start getting loose and things like that. And I'm just going by what it did at Daytona, and we're a little less power now, but not a whole lot.
You hope they back out of gas. That's about the only way right now. You know, if somebody gets a little bit out of shape and they lift, if they don't and you don't have somebody to help you, then there's no way. You get alongside of them and you're hung out to dry.
That's a good question. Ask me Sunday afternoon how you pass here.
Have 50 more horsepower. That's what I've been telling Leo. You got to have about 50 more horsepower to pass anybody, but this is hard unless you got somebody to go with you and draft you. Just almost impossible.
It's all strategy. I mean, you can't just pull out by yourself and do it, because most of the time you're running wide open all the way around the track, and it's like a chess game. You got to plan a move, you got to make a move, and you got to hope that you have a partner to go with you.
Well, you better hope you got your buddy out there. About the only thing I can hope for, and I imagine probably everybody else is thinking along the same lines I am. You know, I don't think you're going to see a deal where a guy is able to go out there and go by himself no more. You know, it's just with the restrictor plate has made it so hard to go out and do that. You just can't.
But as you and Ned pointed out yesterday, Benny, do you have a buddy after you come off the short track season?
After the last 3 weeks, you wonder. So we can see the lights are out on the top of the pace car. That means that the next time by, they're going to throw the green flag.
You can look for your favorite driver and see where he is here in the early going of this race.
Just saw the orange and white car. That's a new paint job of Alan Kowicki. He has secured the Hooters sponsorship and has changed his colors just a little bit. You'll be seeing Alan as the day wears on.
The guys that started on the front row have fallen back, both of them. Harry Gant started outside the front row in second position. He's fallen back to ninth, and the pole sitter has fallen back to eighth position. Larry Pearson's car is covered with mud. Larry is okay.
That's good news.
It sure is, because he took a fast ride through the grass and then up the banking, hitting the wall with the rear end of the car there in the left rear. Now the pace car is off the track. Here we go again with a resumption of the Winston 500. As they come down, this will complete lap number 7, and the green flag waves once again. Kyle Petty leads Davey Allison, Ricky Rudd, Dale Earnhardt, and Blake Speed. That's Earnhardt headed for the top of the bank.
That's Rick Massey's on the outside of. Goes by Mast.
I'll tell you, there were a lot of car drivers that were not quite ready for that green flag because there's a lot of distance between a number of the cars. Well, the draft will close them up, though.
Yeah, they have strung out quite a bit. The first 3 cars have separated themselves from 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th that you were looking at right there.
The surprising thing is Earnhardt, who usually gets that great jump on the restarts, is a few car lengths behind.
There's Ernie Irvin. from the bumper cam.
That's out of the back of Hut Strickland's for Augustus Buick. We can assume that Ernie's looking on the inside. Yes, he is. He had nothing to lose trying to make that pass, because if he had failed, he'd only went back to where he was. Now they've got Davey Allison on the outside. The chain is going by on the inside.
7 cars in this lead draft as we take a look from Hut Strickland's channel lock race cam.
Now we see Davey get low. I thought he and Ernie touched a little bit.
Ernie falls in behind Davey as they head to the 33-degree banking of turn 3.
You notice when Lake Speed went into that turn, you didn't hear any differential in the engine. He didn't back off. He was running wide open in there.
Seven cars in the lead draft. Then comes Rick Mast, Harry Gant, Rusty Wallace, and Bobby Hamilton.
As we look at Davey Allison, who's back in 6th spot, we've got a pass to the lead. Ricky Rudd is now leading the race, and there's Ernie has gotten by Davey. Pulls up right on the back of Lake Speed.
Dale Earnhardt has also moved to 2nd. There's the number 5 of Ricky Rudd out front. Earnhardt right behind him. Then Kyle Petty, Lake Speed, and Ernie Irvan.
Well, Ricky Rudd is the current Winston Cup point leader. He would like to lead at least one. Of course, he would like to lead a lot of laps, but he would like to get 1 lap in early so that he'll get 5 bonus Winston Cup points.
And he's blocking Earnhardt. Earnhardt took a look at the inside. Ricky said, I need those 5 points, and he will take the lead and pick up those 5 bonus points.
Right now, he extends his Winston Cup point lead over Earnhardt to 47. It was 42, but with the 5 now, he makes it 47. Ernie Irvan once again on the high side of the racetrack, trying to take 4th spot away from the 66 of Lake Speed as they rumble down the backstretch.
Now Lake's the odd man out. He's on the inside. The chain's going to go by him. You know, that was the first lap that Ricky Rudd has led in the Winston 500 since 1982.
And you'll notice that inside his car is Getwell Pop A. That's Pop Allison, who is ailing. And, of course, Bobby Allison is the owner of this car. Davey Allison now moves to the inside, takes a look around Ernie Irvan, but decides to fall back into the draft. As Allison tries to take now, Ernie is going to head up the banking once again and challenge Kyle Petty for that 3rd spot.
Boy, those passes make you nervous when you wonder, does that fella know I'm out here? But Kyle Petty did. Davey Allison gets hooked up with Ernie.
And now Kyle falls back into the draft, but in 5th position. And Earnhardt takes a look at Ricky Rudd for the lead, and he is going to get it. He has help from Ernie Irvan, who falls to the bottom and comes with Dale Earnhardt, and Davey Allison is going to do the same thing.
Well, these fellows down on the inside, they say, well, we'll just team up together and let's see what we can do. But Earnhardt will lead this lap, and he'll get himself those 5 bonus points. He's in 2nd in the Winston Cup points.
Now Ricky Rudd's lead is back to 42 points.
What a science this drafting is.
Now Hut and Ricky Rudd, now Ricky backs off and let Hut go up in front of him because they were in jeopardy of losing the draft.
Here's a pack of cars running together. Ken Schrader, Daryl Waltrip, Bill Elliott.
Now, Bill Elliott and Dale Jarrett and the group of cars have brought back about 300 yards on the racetrack, but Elliott led him up through there. Jarrett was right on his bumper now. He has pulled out the outside of Bill Elliott, now trying to go the outside of Ken Schrader down there as he follows Rusty Wallace through.
The Citgo in-car camera with Dale Jarrett currently running in 15th position, right behind Ken Schrader and Daryl Waltrip.
I said Rusty Wallace, that's Daryl Waltrip. Black car in the back.
There we saw Rusty Wallace keep flashing on the screen. He's in front of this group of cars. Bobby Hamilton got on the inside. He's trying to follow Rusty Wallace through.
As is Ken Schrader.
There's 6 cars up in front of this lead pack. The group you're watching there now is about 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You can go right on up to 20-something. We've been following that group back through there.
They're all running right together.
Big pack.
Lake Speed following in front of that group. That is a huge pack of automobiles.
Yeah, Dale Jarrett got caught on the high side there and about went backwards for a little bit. Now it looks like he's catching back up to Daryl. Now Daryl needed a little help up there because he was up there by himself. Ooh! Daryl Waltrip and Rusty Wallace touched. for a moment.
It's like they've been doing in North Wilkesboro and Martinsville in the past weeks, but you don't want to do that here on the high speeds of Talladega. Boy, this group is really running close together. Look how tight they are.
They are really tight. And one thing that they've got to be concerned about, you know, they can touch a little bit like we saw there on the side, but they hope that nobody touches anybody going into the turn and gets them out of shape, because if they do, that could be a big mess.
Dale Jarrett coming right up on the back bumper of Daryl Waltrip.
You know, that's drafting at its best. You've got to be at the collision. I'm not saying because it's Dale Jarrett, but the closer they can get, the better it is for the car in front of them.
Well, let's go down to John Kernan while the action continues on the track. He's with Larry Pearson.
Larry has undergone his mandatory check at the infield care center, and he is okay. Larry, you say it's just a little bit wet? It's a little bit wet still out there?
Yeah, there was a stream of water running across the racetrack, and whenever Richard got up into the wall there, I seen him hit it, and I went down low, and I just happened to be right in that stream of water when I decided to turn, and it just sent the car sideways.
I know it's got to be a big disappointment being here with Kellogg's and in the Chevrolet unit.
Yeah, it was a big disappointment. I mean, they had some guys, some people come down from Battle Creek up there where Kellogg's Corn Flakes are, and you know, it was a big disappointment for them, but at least they got a little bit of excitement today. Unfortunately, it was the wrong car.
Well, and Larry will get set to pack it up. I guess, are you going to think about maybe trying to fix it? It looks pretty much damaged.
No, it's tore up too bad. I guess we'll just load it up and go on to Charlotte from here.
That's the word from the garage area.
Larry Pearson okay after a crash in the early going of the Winston 500. They continue to draft here in this second group of cars. The first six there have separated themselves quite a bit from the pack that you just saw. The first six are Earnhardt, Irvin, Allison, Strickland, Petty, and Ricky Rudd. That's the way they run here with 17 laps completed after 188 laps. Davey Allison is making a move for second, and he may challenge for the lead as Hut Strickland comes along with him on the bottom of the racetrack. Kyle Petty also is on the inside, and yes, Davey Allison is going to get the lead coming out the fourth turn. And a couple of Alabama guys, Davey Allison and Hut Strickland, hooked up in a drafting buddy type situation. Now they're three abreast here in the tri-oval as Allison will lead this lap when they come down. Earnhardt is second, and then for third, they're three abreast.
And here comes Ricky Rudd up on the outside. They're still three abreast now. Back to two abreast, but Rudd is still on the outside of Hut Strickland. Meanwhile, Davey Allison and Earnhardt are checking out on these guys running side by side. Never seen Rudd back off and pull in behind Hut Strickland. He didn't do that because he was slower, because he felt like he needed to get in line so he could catch him.
Davey Allison leads Dale Earnhardt. We're glad you could join us on this Monday afternoon from Talladega Superspeedway and our live coverage of the Winston 500. Who's that?
Ricky Rudd. Looks like he's on 7 cylinders.
Okay.
Ooh, who's that on the outside? Slater?
Okay. All right.
Behind Joe Rutten. Woo. That's Slater.
Except for the lead.
Yeah. Here comes swerving. Tom, Hut. Tell you what, they've got that Buick running up in there.
He was good at Daytona.
Yeah.
One of the 6 cars in the lead draft is headed for pit road. That's the current Winston Cup points leader, Ricky Rudd, who has brought the Tide Chevrolet in for an unscheduled pit stop. Here's John Kernan.
Waddell Wilson and the crew will go to work under the hood. The car is missing. It's running on 7 cylinders, so what they're going to do, check the plug wires. They hope that it's a problem as minor as that the plug wire has come off and that they can put it back on and get the car away. Cars are now in turn 3 of the field. And let's listen to the cars.
Ricky Rudd goes a lap down as his car sits on pit road with with the hood up and the crew trying to find out what might be causing the engine to miss. So that now there are 5 cars in the lead draft, and Dale Earnhardt has retaken the lead over Irvin, Kyle Petty, Hut Strickland, and Davey Allison.
Kyle Petty on the outside, up alongside Ernie off the corner. He's got Hut Strickland right on his back bumper. And Davey Allison followed him. They're going to take, looks like Ernie's the odd man out, but he comes back on the inside. If he can move up and squeeze in that gap.
And Hut would rather he not.
Yeah, right.
And he didn't.
Ricky Rudd is pulling out of the pits. The lead draft will go by him as he comes down the low side of the racetrack. There are 5 cars in this lead draft, and then there are 18 cars in the next draft that are not too far behind. I think they're catching up a little bit, these front fellas, as they race side by side, as we're seeing there now.
There you can see that Rudd is back out on the racetrack, but they are passing him quickly. Let's go to John, who's with Waddell Wilson.
Waddell, what was the problem? Were you able to fix it?
One of the spark plug wires came off. It's on number 8 cylinder, and we was able to get it back on. It sure cost us a lot of time. Well, you know, we don't have a reason for why it come off, but it's an unusual thing to happen, seem like this. That's the first time I can remember it happening in a long time.
Something very simple, the plug wire coming off, but it can set you back, and it has set Ricky Rudd back a lap here at Talladega, and he's going to have to go a long way to make that up.
As a matter of fact, he is now 2 laps down to the field, so a tough break for the current Winston Cup points leader, Ricky Rudd. Here's this battle for 3rd position as Davey Allison now moves to the low side of the racetrack in turn number 1, and he moves up into 4th position. Hut Strickland is back there in 5th. Kyle Petty and Dale Earnhardt have separated themselves a little bit from those 3rd, 4th, and 5th place cars, but if they fall in line, they'll probably be able to catch up to Kyle. Once again, here's how to enter the Right Guard Halfway Challenge Sweepstakes. Call 1-900-737-1100 before the halfway lap. Then stay tuned to see which driver wins the $10,000 award. If your entry is selected and you are called at home, you will win a Pontiac Grand Prix SE. Name the driver who won the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. The halfway point would be lap 94 here this afternoon.
And look how easy Ernie Irvin goes by Kyle Petty into that 2nd spot.
And that's how quickly you can catch up to the draft.
Yes, they caught in 1 lap. Now that group behind them, I mentioned that 18-car group, they're closing in at about a rate of a half a second a lap on those front ones. They've been running in single file while these fellas battle up there side by side a number of times. The others just running single file. There they are, being led by Rick Mast. Now let's watch him as he goes into turn 3. He has been going low on the racetrack, and the others have been drifting up a little bit. But this time, Lake Speed stays down low. But you see Daryl Waltrip and Dale Jarrett running up high. Rick had been running down there by himself for a number of laps, and still he would come out of the turn in front of the group.
One of the drivers who has made a big movement is that number 75 car there, driven by Joe Ruttman. He started in 34th position and now runs 12th. There he is, that bright yellow, red, and blue car, Joe Ruttman, moving from 34th to 12th position.
Had a great run in Daytona, coming home in 3rd place, and they have a new engine in the car. It's a Waltrip in the Dinnervale Oldsmobile, so apparently it's working good for him. Bob Heavy said, hey, we need something a little stronger, and put it in there and put it up towards the front.
Joe, one of those that ran exceptionally well at Daytona, as did Hut Strickland, who's up there in the top 5.
Several cars. Hut Strickland was involved in a crash, not able to finish Daytona. Ruttman had about a 5th or 6th place finish. Third, oh.
And here's Rick Mast in the 6th position, and he is leading that group that's catching the front runners, or at least they were for several laps while the front runners were up there dicing it around back and forth. You're looking out in front of Lake Speed's car.
Now you can see the interval there between the 1 car and the next car up there, which is Hut Strickland. That separates the 5th from the 6th place car. Phillips 66 in-car camera, carried by Lake Speed. Down the backstretch at 1. Speed.
Probably 200 miles per hour. They slow down to about 190 as they go through the corners, as we see Mast right on the bottom of the racetrack. This time Lake Speed moved up high, but as Ned said just a moment ago, Mast is able to maintain the advantage.
Yeah, he does that time after time. I think that's a sign of a good handling car and also of a very fast car here.
Yeah, because if they could squeeze him down to the inside and get on top of him, they could blow by and leave him, drop him from about 6th position to 25th or so.
But that's probably slowing them down a little bit. I don't think they've gained much the last few laps on those front runners, and the fact that they're not running directly in line is slowing them to some degree.
As the tires get warm, these cars tend to move up the racetrack. You catch that green racetrack, the racetrack the cars haven't been on. You see it go in the corner, but then the car just kind of slides up the hill. As Ned said, the sign of a good engine race car is one that's able to run on the bottom all the way around.
That's the bumper cam on Lake Speed's car, looking back on Daryl Waltrip. There's Dale Jarrett down on the inside. Look to the inside of Daryl.
I think he decided that wasn't the thing to do. Better sit there in line. Sometimes you feel like you want to go, Benny, but you decide that might not be the smart thing to do. Because if you get out of line, as we've seen a couple times here already, you can go way back of the line. You get called out there. 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th we're watching there.
Speed, Waltrip, Jarrett, and then Alan Kowicki.
Kowicki is at the 10th place car.
17 car appears to be running well at this point. Let's go to John Kernan, who's in that pit.
Just a bit of strategy, Bob. Jeff Hammond is sending crewmen down to Lake Speed's pit crew and said, get on the radio, tell Lake to hook up with Daryl. We're going to the outside, and we're going to try and take it to the front. So they feel that they can work well together and draft their way to the front by going around Rick Mast on the outside. But they need that dance partner, as we talked about earlier.
Now we're beginning to see the buddies find each other out there to hook up and to try to gain the advantage over someone else.
And they've lost about a second in the last 3 laps, that second group.
Last lap for the leader was about 194.752 miles an hour. That compares with a qualifying speed of 195.1, so they are not very far off the top speed of qualification. Now you can see that Hut Strickland has fallen out of that lead draft, so there are only 4 cars now. That is Earnhardt, Irvin, Petty, and Allison.
And Hut is about to become a part of that big draft in that second group of cars.
Here's a Big A Auto Parts on-track interval. We timed 5 successive laps from 18 to 22, Earnhardt and Rick Mast, to see if Mast was catching up with that group. Earnhardt, you can see there, from anywhere from 49.8, very consistent. Rick Mast varied from 49.1 to about 49.6, but he has closed the interval by 1 second in those 5 laps. Of course, drafting playing a very big role in the fact that he was able to close up.
But then just after we took those numbers, that gap began to open a little bit again as the front cars hooked up and got in a line as we see them here. Now, while that was going on up front, they were battling at least for the second, third, and fourth positions, and that does make a difference.
These fellows right now are content, as they should be, content to stay in line and just pull away from that back group. Why race with 15 cars when you can race with 3 cars?
Certainly cuts your chances down of anything going wrong or getting bumped or something like that when you're out there with just 3 other cars.
31 laps have been completed in the Winston 500 here at Talladega Superspeedway. The top 10 as we take another break from Talladega. Welcome back to our live coverage on this Monday afternoon of the rain postponed from yesterday Winston 500 from Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. Our Speed World coverage of the Winston 500 being brought to you by Levi's 505 and 540 jeans for men. By Ace. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware man. And by Channel Lock, made in America for you who want the best. 4 cars in the lead draft right now. Dale Earnhardt, Ernie Irvan, Kyle Petty, and Davey Allison. And we understand that Dale Earnhardt has radioed to his crew that there might be some oil in turn number 3.
Well, Stanley Smith was in the pits just a little bit ago in the interstate battery car, but he went back on the racetrack.
the yellow flag is out. Whatever the situation, there must be oil up there. NASCAR has observed it, so the yellow flag is out.
Could be coming from the 47 car, Greg Sachs also. In any case, the yellow does come out for the second time this afternoon, slowing the speed of the Winston 500. Yellow out on lap number 35. There's the 47 car that's being driven by Greg Sachs.
And we've approached almost 100 miles in this race. They had pit stops coming up before too long, so this will be an opportune time for them to come in and change those tires and take on a tank of Unocal gasoline.
The 47 car, Greg Sachs, this is exactly the same car Rich Bickle has been driving previously this year.
That may be the car from which the oil.
You see some oil on the back of the Norwood Insurance name. The discoloration on the back of that car tells you that there's some oil coming out of the car.
The pace car has not yet picked up the field, and so they will not be coming down for a pit stop this time. The pit should be closed because the pack has not been formed behind the pace car. So we will take a quick break and come back for the pit stops during our second caution period here in the Winston 500. Back in a moment. ESPN Speed World live coverage of the Winston 500 from Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama, with the Winston hot air balloon circling overhead. Pit stops will be occurring here in just a moment as the field comes down behind the pace car. Now remember, with essentially no pit rules except that, it is responsibility of the driver of the car to make a safe entrance and exit onto and off of pit road. They're staying at about 56 miles an hour as they move down here and now begin to flank off into their respective pit positions. Here comes Dale Earnhardt. Davey Allison is already into his assigned spot. Here comes Ernie Irvin in, Bill Elliott, Lake Speed, and the whole cam over Dale Earnhardt. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
From a bird's eye view of the Goodrich crew working now, they have already changed the right side tires. They will change left side tires. You will not see a lot of tire changing today because track position is so very important. So they get the chance to change 4 tires here under the caution flag. Earnhardt now hustling to get back out. Remember, as Bob Dickens mentioned, the critical speed exiting the pits. The crew really a traffic jam as they head down pit road at no more than 56 miles an hour. Looks almost a little bit unusual to see these guys taking their time down pit road. Bill Elliott is also in and out. Almost everyone taking advantage of this caution flag to put on 4 tires and top off the tanks. Bob?
Boy, there was a huge jam of those cars coming out of the pits.
Yes, there was. There were some cars coming in as they were going out, and that did further jam it up. I don't think Rusty Wallace took on any tires because he was the first one of the front-running cars that I saw come out of the pits. I think they just put fuel in.
One advantage, though, look, there's a big jam of cars at 50 miles an hour, not 100 miles an hour. And if you get bumped at 50 miles an hour, you have a chance to say, what's these cars? There's Jeff Purvis coming to his pit as the cars slowly go down pit road.
Yeah, you got to compliment those guys because they performed very well.
Harry Gant almost got off in the mud, but yes, they did. They performed very, very good. Guys, you did super.
The 55 car, Ted Musgrave, is being shown as the leader of this race, and that's the first lap that he has led in Winston Cup competition this year.
And he is the leader in the rookie point standings.
He was able to take over the point lead from Bobby Hamilton a couple of weeks ago. So, again, the caution is out for debris and oil on the racetrack. We'll take another break and be back live in just a moment. Well, we thank those that came up with this banner welcoming us here to Talladega Superspeedway. We hope that it extends to today. Now, this says May 5th. That was yesterday. Are we welcome today? Well, we'll make sure that we are. We insert electronically a 6 over the 5 to make sure that we're welcome here at the world's fastest speedway, Talladega, for our live coverage of the Winston 500. Next time around, we'll be getting the green flag, and next weekend, we will begin our coverage of the time trials at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 75th running of the 500-mile race. Our coverage begins at 5 o'clock Eastern Time next Sunday afternoon. We'll also have coverage the following Saturday and Sunday as the 33 cars qualify for the 500-mile race. Of course, the track opened for practice yesterday, or rather a Saturday in Indianapolis, but as of last night, they had not gotten one green lap of practice in because of some rain. And there is Wally Dallenbach Jr., who of course gained most of his experience in Indy cars, but is currently in this Winston Cup race here and running in 11th position in a fine showing for that number 90 Judy Donlevy car. All right, we're about to go back to green. The pace car pulls into the pit area, and here comes the field.
Those 4 cars on the inside, Ricky Rudd, Mickey Gibbs, the 52 car of Jimmy Means and Stanley Smith. All those cars are lapped down. Rudd, we witnessed that, and Mickey Gibbs pitted just before the caution flag came out. That's why he was lapped down.
Rudd will be trying to get one of his laps back. And it isn't going to be easy as the green comes out on lap number 43, and Ernie Irvan pulls ahead of Ricky Rudd.
Ernie Irvan in his pit stop put on 2 right sides. 2 right side tires only. We saw Earnhardt in his pit stop put on 4 tires.
And they're running radials here for the first time. The Winston Cup cars have never run radials here at Talladega until today.
There's see Rick Mast alongside Mickey Gibbs. The blue car in the middle of the screen is Sterling Marlin, and I think he intends to run the entire race today. Remember, he was burned in Bristol a month ago, but looks very good and said he feels good. Here comes Earnhardt on the inside of Mast, take that spot away.
Who said you can't pass because of special place? He didn't give any help, did he? No.
There is Earnhardt.
He's at the very tail end of the pack.
Running 6th. Looking to the inside of Hut Strickland as he goes down the backstretch, but falls back into the drafting line. Great shot from the bumper cam carried by Hut Strickland. Now here's Kyle Petty on the inside of Dale Jarrett, and Wally Dallenbach Jr. will move down behind Kyle Petty as they come out of turn number 4.
Davey Allison had just passed them on the last lap in turns 1 and 2 down on the inside. He did like Earnhardt by himself, just went right on by him.
Earnhardt's going to go by Alex Lewicki. He's going to give it a shot at least as they go into turn 1. Earnhardt picks up another position, and Rick Mast will try to do likewise and does.
Now Hut Strickland's going to try to follow, but Hut, there's no one down there to follow. I don't know if he's got enough momentum to go back to Lewicki or not. It doesn't appear as though he does. Helping Davey Allison, who's right, but there's Davey Allison coming in the screen. He was getting some, rear abreast.
Well, Davey has gotten on that inside and has taken off down there. His car is working. He has a lot of horsepower, and this motor car out.
Meanwhile, there's still 3 abreast as Kyle Petty pulls out on the inside. Watch this.
They sure are 3 abreast. Coming down, Kyle Petty on the inside. Hut Strickland in the middle along with Wally Dallenbach Jr. Looking back from Hut Strickland's car.
And folks, this is at 190 miles an hour as we're watching this.
Hurry up, Dale Jarrett. Get out of there. Go on past him in a hurry.
That's the 6th car. Bart Martin, Joe Rudman behind these cars. Bud has the car on the outside of it now. He's looking at the 6th car on the back bumper.
He's down there by himself, but holding on pretty good. Well, maybe not by himself. He's got some help from Davey Allison.
That's a view from Dale Jarrett's car. Look how close he is to Mickey Gibbs.
As Lena said, Mickey had just made a pit stop in the Q3 Pontiac just before the caution came out. Davey Allison looked a little off. Maybe just I think the draft got it.
I think so too.
They're all hooked up together on the outside, and for a few laps, it might be he probably had on 4 new tires. He worked real well for it there for a little while, but now it looks like he's going to have to get back in line.
Davies down the inside.
He heard you, Ned.
But Joe Rudman is going to be down there now. There comes Joe pulling alongside the 90 car of Dallenbach.
This is Lake Speed, the 66 Pontiac. Rudman still on the inside of Dallenbach. That's Harry Gant outside pole. So behind Dallenbach, Rick Wilson, Kyle Petty. Schrader trying to get up into third spot, but he's falling back to fifth. Here's Ricky Rudd, the car who's 2 laps down. Blind defensive by leader Ernie Irvin. Pulls to the inside,
but he can't get anybody to go with him down there.
Meanwhile, Earnhardt has pulled up on the back of Irvin.
And Rick Mast now coming into the picture in the car number 1. He was leading that big draft of cars. He was running 5th before the caution came out. Made a good pit stop, and now he's right back to 5th. There's Davey Allison trying it down on the inside again. David, don't believe it's going to work, son. He feels good about it.
I think he's just hoping that somebody in that group will pull him out. He can get some air off those cars and go by. But right now, they're all staying in line.
Davey Allison, a 2-time winner of this event in '87 and in '89.
It worked pretty good after the trial, but then once he got towards the backstretch, he had to pull back in line.
Let's see what's going on behind that group of cars. Daryl Waltrip, he's also down on the low side of the racetrack and trying to find ground down there, but having difficulty. That's Bill Elliott up on the top of the racetrack.
You got to kind of follow the line. Right now, the line's on top of the racetrack.
And Dale Earnhardt is taking the lead from Ernie Irvin as Earnhardt moves low through the tri-oval and then comes up and takes the lead from Irvin.
He's running way down the low side of the racetrack.
Schrader's moved into third spot past Rick Mast. That's Sterling Marlin back behind Ricky Rudd.
Mast trying down on the inside now. He sees there's Mark Martin and Davey Allison that hooked up down on the inside. That might be the ticket that Davey Allison needed. And the 90 car, Wally Dallenbach, coming in there as well. It looks like they've found themselves a combination there that's going to take them on up towards the front.
Davey's found a buddy down on the inside. It's Mark Martin, and behind him, Wally Dallenbach Jr. and Kyle Petty as they come along with him in the low draft.
The 3 Fords down there working well together down on the inside. Kyle, I don't know. He doesn't seem to be getting that much advantage off of it.
It doesn't appear as Kyle's car will work on the bottom of the racetrack like those Fords will. Mark Martin and Davey Allison running right on the bottom of the racetrack. Kyle has to move up a bit.
It looks like Kyle would like to find his position up there in the top group.
Davey Allison trying to go by Mark Martin, and he has succeeded. Meanwhile, Rick Maston, Alan Kowicki now has moved down.
Look at Dallenbach making it 3 wide coming out of turn number 4. Dallenbach really showing some muscle here.
Kyle Petty's hooked up on the back of him. They've got Mark in the sandwich.
And they both come around Mark Martin. And Ernie Irvin makes another bid for the lead on Dale Earnhardt. And Irvin will take over that top spot from Dale going into the second turn. Third, number 25. And the 5 car, Ricky Rudd, is not on the lead lap. Irvin leads Dale Earnhardt here in the Winston 500 live on this Monday from Talladega. We'll be right back. Acting like he's experienced in this drafting game. Okay.
Pretty sure the points on 18. Yep.
You could actually see blue sky.
How's that for Roush engine? I would think so.
Davis going to try to hook up together.
Look at Mass.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is. Yeah, just
sure.
wrong down that inside.
We're back live at Talladega, where Ernie Irvan leads Dale Earnhardt, Ken Schrader, and Rick Mast and Sterling Marlin in the Winston 500. Now that's Mast to the inside of Ricky Rudd, now falling in behind him. Mast showing some very good speed in that number 1 car.
He lost a little momentum as he came off the 4th corner, slipped up in front of Sterling Marlin. Unfortunately for him, Sterling let him back in line.
We've seen some great racing here in the first 54 laps of this event. That restrictor plate that was made smaller for this event really looks like that it's increased the competition. 4 wide now down the backstretch.
My heart couldn't stand to be in it. Look at those guys.
Brett Bodine he had to back out there. He got in a position he simply had to back off the gas. Look how much it cost him.
That's Daryl Waltrip along with Jimmy Spencer. Joe Ruttman to the outside. Getting closer to the halfway point. It's lap number 94, and we're on 55 to enter the Right Guard Halfway Challenge Sweepstakes. Call 1-900-737-1100 before the halfway lap. You're called back during today's race, and you can name the driver who won the Right Guard Halfway Challenge Award. You will win a Pontiac Grand Prix SE. The Right Guard Halfway Challenge coming up on lap number 94. Now note that is a new number to dial. 1-900-737-1100.
Look at Wally Dallenbach and Joe Ruttman. Close together coming off turn 4.
Boy, are they.
Real close together. Buddy Baker behind Dallenbach, that dark blue car.
While they're jockeying around back there, the lead group is going to get away from them if they aren't careful. And here is the lead group. Ernie Irvan leading, Dale Earnhardt second, Kenny Schrader's third. Rick Mast in fourth.
Heading on back now to catch this action. That's Terry Labonte running alongside Harry Gant and Brett Bodine right there, also making it 2 wide. 88 car is Buddy Baker, who is a 4-time winner here. Buddy running 21st.
The car is owned by an Irishman. Robin something or other. I met him the other day. Don't remember his last name.
Now we move up to catch the lead draft. As again, we see 3 abreast competition. Kyle Petty, Alan Kowicki, and Dale Jarrett making 3 abreast as they head for the 33-degree banking. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who has word on the 42 car of Kyle Petty.
Well, Bob, we've always seen spotters being used to alert a driver when there's a problem on the racetrack. Well, behind me, Gary Nelson and Kyle Petty, his driver, and the spotter right up here on the grandstand are working a little bit different system today. The spotter is actually telling Kyle when he has cleared a car and he can pull back in line. So Kyle will pull to the inside, try to pass the car, and then wait to hear from his spotter. The problem was a minute ago, the spotter couldn't see very well because of the angles here. Kyle didn't hear, and thus he got shuffled back about 8 or 10 spots, and now he's trying to make his way back to the front.
Well, we've talked all year long about the importance of the spotters, and that's a perfect example of it right there. Now the 42 car down on the low side once again. Michael Waltrip right behind him.
Now what he's talking about, see, the spotter can say, you're clear, move up. There's no one on the outside of you. My son used to do that so good for me, Kevin.
Really?
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt has taken the lead. There it is. He has taken the lead from Ernie Irvan. Ken Schrader continuing to run in 3rd position. Finding a draft. We talked earlier about the smaller restrictor plate and the fact that it may be very difficult to pass. But what you want to do here is find yourself a drafting partner. And again, we ask several drivers, how do you find that partner out there on the track?
I tell you what, you don't talk to them or find them anywhere. You just hope when you get out there you find one.
I don't think there's any real buddies out here. The guy behind you is going to do whatever best for him, and So if your car looks like it's better than the car in front of you, he's probably going to gamble on you. And if you don't, he's probably going to go with the other guy. It's simple as that.
Here, you need to be running with someone you feel comfortable with. You know, there's guys that I don't want to run with. I know there's guys that don't want to run with me, but you get somebody to run with, and hopefully, you know, it'd be somebody a little faster, somebody that if you're not able to get the job done on your own, they can help pull you up through there.
You just have to find out what cars your car runs good with, and those are the guys you got to stay with all day.
You know, you can get hooked up in practice, and, you know, sometimes in practice, man, your car and somebody else's car really works good together. And, you know, if you get hooked up in a race, and, you know, I know before we come and say, hey, we'll work together today, and everybody be buddy-buddy, and then once race starts, no, it's like you have to drive. But, you know, most time you get working with somebody, and, you know, you'll pull them on up the front, and they'll pull you on up the front, and you stay together, you ease on up through there.
You know, there's been times before where an Oldsmobile could hook up with a Ford, or a Ford to hook up with an Oldsmobile, and they were good. And, you know, the Pontiacs run pretty good with the Chevys sometimes, but it's going to be tough to find somebody that really wants to go with you all day long.
If you go run, you'll usually pair up out there 2 or 3 times with 2 or 3 guys in practice. And once they're satisfied, this is the way you could do, then you can make some kind of friend there for a little bit. It might work with you, might not. Might leave you hung out to dry out there.
A couple of those guys with interesting comments. So they're saying that a guy that was a buddy in practice may not necessarily be your friend during the race.
And Ricky Rudd just got hung out to dry, even though it's a couple of laps down. He's been up there battling, trying to get back in the lead lap. And here comes Davey Allison. Is he hung out to dry, or is he has a lot of horsepower? He might be able to make that pass.
If you're just joining us, welcome. It's about 3 o'clock Eastern time on a Monday afternoon, and we are live at Talladega Superspeedway for NASCAR Winston Cup racing. This event was postponed yesterday because of a torrential downpour that hit the area, and we are now 61 laps into this 188-lap race at Talladega, and there are blue skies now beginning to be shown overhead the speedway. The first time in about 5 days we've seen blue skies here in central Alabama. Back in a moment. Back at Talladega Superspeedway, where there are 18 cars in the lead draft, with Dale Earnhardt showing the way over Ernie Irvan, Ken Schrader, and then Sterling Marlin. Kyle Petty running back in 5th position.
Now, not all of those cars, but those 18 are in the lead lap. Ricky Rudd, we pointed out, is one of those that's 2 laps down. Mickey Gibbs is in that group as well. He is at least 1 lap down.
There are 34 cars that continue to be in the lead lap, and the average speed of the race is 146.720 miles an hour, and the last lap for the leader was over 193. The all-time record speed for a 500-mile stock car race was set here in 1985 when Bill Elliott completed the distance in 186.288 miles an hour. Rick Mast down at the bottom of the racetrack again, trying to find a way around Michael Waltrip in car number 30.
Looks like Rick is hung out to dry on the inside. When his car really comes off of the turns, good. Here's Ernie Irvan. We saw up there trying to get on the inside of Earnhardt, but we'll watch Mast come off of the second turn, see how he comes off down there a little bit. Once they hit that straightaway, they could motor right on by.
In the first 65 laps of this race, we have had 11 lead changes among 6 drivers.
Where did Rick Mast find that hole? Well, I tell you what, it didn't look like there was room, but he moved right in there. Davey Allison allowed it.
And now Ernie Irvan looks to the inside of Dale Earnhardt and will make a bid for the lead as they come toward the tri-oval. They've got the fans up on their feet as Irvan moves to the inside of the racetrack. Oh, they come very close to touching in the tri-oval. And now Ernie may be caught out of the draft.
Oh, boy, Ernie. You could be in big-time trouble now.
Harry Gant talking about leaving out to dry. Well, he's left out to dry, but there's a group of cars down on the inside. There they come. Bobby Hamilton and Daryl Waltrip that are coming up on the inside. Now, if they can catch Ernie, they might be able to help him a little bit.
Let's see who's going to be the buddy to let Ernie go back in the line. Nobody yet.
Now he's trying to find a space there between Kyle Petty and Sterling Marlin, or between Marlin and Michael Waltrip, and everybody's saying, stay down there.
Michael said, Ernie, you have enough spot.
Now, Ernie Irvan wrote down here on Michael Waltrip's airplane. Dale Jarrett was with him too. Now,
sure, there's a buddy. All right. Now Schrader looks to the inside and tries to take the lead away from Dale Earnhardt. As they come toward the stripe, Schrader has the advantage by a half a car length. They go into the first turn side by side, and now two distinct drafting lines.
Ernie got up. Oh, look here, Ernie. Don't go in the middle of those guys, Ernie, please. Thank you. Here's Bobby Hamilton on the inside. He's will make it 3 abreast.
I'll tell you, he is impressive. Those Tennessee boys, Daryl Waltrip and Bobby Hamilton, just put them together and come from nowhere up to the front of the pack.
And they're bringing Jimmy Spencer with them.
Ernie said just a couple laps ago, I was so comfortable up there riding along behind Earnhardt, and look what kind of mess I'm in now.
Yeah, we got a stinger behind him, and now he's in the middle of the creek. Well, he did get out of that from down south. He's in a big pack of cars.
Terrific racing. Unbelievable.
Oh, Davey Allison and Ernie almost got together at the start-finish line.
And now Allison is the odd man out in a 3 abreast formation through the first and second turns.
That's Jimmy Spencer down on the inside. That back and boot. Chevrolet has some great runs for short races.
This isn't the start of the race, friends. We've gone 68 laps. And look at Bobby Hamilton. He is going to go into second position, or is trying to. On the inside, he's got Daryl Waltrip with him to draft. He's behind him. And Earnhardt now drops to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, he saw them coming up, and his father would have told him, too, hey, those guys are working down on the inside. You better get down on the inside, too. And he did that. Now he has to go around and things out himself to Pontiac. But
now Daryl.
As his drafting buddy Hamilton left him there, now Hamilton does pull back down low, and Daryl gets down there behind him.
Bobby Hamilton has gone to second position here in the Winston 500. Ken Schrader is up high on the racetrack in third, and then the battle for fourth between Daryl Waltrip and Kyle Petty.
That's a 100-time Oldsmobile, and this is the same car that, due to the rain conditions in Martinsville, didn't get a chance to qualify.
Yep, and Bobby unfortunately lost the rookie points battle because of missing that race, but he is really showing the muscle now. Waltrip has been down there on the inside for the last several laps and appears to be working pretty well. But Jimmy Spencer is with him along with Ricky Rudd.
And he's really with him. Spencer was right up on the track. Now look at Daryl Waltrip. He's on the inside and now he's trying to take his spot away. Waltrip is going after Earnhardt.
He's got second. Can he take the lead? Waltrip on the low side of the 33-degree banking runs right alongside Dale Earnhardt. And Jimmy Spencer goes right to the back bumper of Daryl Waltrip as they draft down the backstretch. Tremendous side-by-side racing and a crash. Mark Martin's car lifts off the ground but does not go over. But this crash is going to involve several cars.
You see Hud Strickland in the mud there.
It was bound to happen. Blake's speed is damaged badly, so is Rusty Wallace. The Sunoco car of Terry Labonte on the right side of your screen is damaged. The race for the caution flag comes down.
Three-fourths of the field wiped out.
Daryl Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt, and Earnhardt had the advantage by about a bumper. Look at this. Looks like a parking lot. Looks like a junkyard back in the backstretch. Jimmy Means. There is Wally Dallenbach Jr. and Mark Martin's Fords that have been heavily damaged in this crash. And Mark Martin's car got way up off the ground.
We saw those strips coming out the roof of the windshield. That was the outside windshield strips that hold the windshield in, or supposed to. It left in Mark Martin's car.
You just felt like that something was going to happen, and here's how it started.
Mark Martin was down on the inside. Ernie Irvin got between he and Kyle Petty, and they touched around and go look at Mark Martin's car go up in the air.
Comes back down on all four wheels, and meanwhile, behind them, those fellows have no place to go. Ernie Irvin is now spun up in the outside wall. Kyle Petty spun the first 3 cars.
At another angle now in this crash that has taken out several cars. Watch Ernie Irvin.
Yeah. And Ernie Irvin got into Kyle Petty. That was the first thing that happened.
And watch, we see the windshield fly to these automobiles as they turn backwards.
And then several cars become involved, sliding into that wet grass and into the mud puddles. There's Hud Strickland throwing up a big spray as his Buick moved through. Rick Mass slides through the wet grass.
Bill Elliott might have drove through there. There was Terry Labonte, Rusty Wallace looking at their cars, trying to figure out how much damage there is.
There's Davey Allison in the pit. He has extensive damage to the front end of that Hamilton Ford. And the pit crew going to work for it. Mark Martin's car is on the hook, or just about to be. He was one of those that There is Wally Dallenbach Jr., who is out of his car. We may go to red here because the backstretch is essentially blocked. You can see there at the end of the backstretch, there are cars all over the place, not only in the grass, but also on the racetrack itself. There's Dale Jarrett's car up against the wall at the end of the backstretch.
Dale had almost got through, and a couple cars that were spinning in front of him came down and hit him and knocked him into the outside wall.
There's only 21 cars of the 38 made it back to the start-finish line, so there's probably at least 17 cars. There's Chad Little.
Chad Little is out of his car. That's Kyle Petty's number 42. I don't think he is out of the car yet.
Kyle's hand come up out of the car. Meanwhile, I guess they are going to red flag the race.
Well, I don't know. The yellow is still out, but they are leading him down pit road instead of on the racetrack. Here it is once again. Contact between Ernie Irvan and Kyle Petty, triggering this multi-car crash. Look at Mark Martin's car go way up on the air, but it came down on all fours. But behind him, everybody gets on the brakes, slides, spins into each other down to the infield grass, creating a chaos on the backstretch.
Rick Mast must have been running 100 miles an hour.
Benny, you mentioned that the several cars had windshields pop out of them, and that's something that we have talked about in the past, how these windshields pop out of cars. We have a further examination in this week's Track Fact. And for more on that, let's go to Dr. Bunch. Of why they use those straps on the race cars. A fabricator for the Rick Hendrick team explaining the situation.
And he's not from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. He's from New Zealand. Tony Price.
Jimmy Means there stuck in the Alka-Seltzer Pontiac trying to get out.
By the way, the red flag has come out. The field has been stopped here on pit road as the drivers gather together to try to talk about what happened that has knocked everybody out of this race. There are only about, 15, 18 cars that made it through. A replay from the in-car of Hut Strickland.
He's hard on the gas. All of a sudden, something hit the windshield. See, the windshield stays in the car. That's the straps we were talking about. And we saw all the water that he went through.
It wanted to pop out, but it didn't because of those straps. Now here's the other in-car carried by Lake Speed, Phillips 66 in-car camera.
There we see the contact. Just a little bit of the windshield pops out, but those braces are holding that windshield, a major part of the windshield in.
And the view from Dale Jarrett's car.
Martin way up in the air.
See, Dale almost got through, but then he got hit and knocked him right into the wall. That camera continues to work, though.
You know, Ned, that crumple hood is altogether too much. I mean, it's becoming too familiar.
It really is. On that 21
and
car.
there's nothing he could do about it.
Let's go to John Kernews with Davey Allison.
Davey has climbed from out of the car. They were working on it, trying to get him back, but they got a lot of work to do, a lot of damage. Davey, you said you saw it happen in front of you.
Yeah, there's just too many people racing too close together, and it's this early in the race. That's stupid. It's a 500-mile race. People don't need to be worried about being up at the front of the pack. Most of us were out there trying to run single file. There were some people that were holding us up, and I tried to get back in front of them. When I couldn't get in line, I stayed out of line until I could get in line. I was respecting those other people. But there were a bunch of people out there that didn't respect each other, and that's what caused this.
They will go to work on the Texaco Haviland Ford, try and get him back out, but they do have a busted radiator. The front end is pretty well demolished. Also some damage in the rear end, but the Robert Yates crew has gone to work, and they're going to try and get Davey back out there.
So hopefully Davey can re-enter the competition when we resume this race, but it has been red flagged because of a multi-car pileup on the backstretch here at Talladega Superspeedway. We'll be right back. Rick Mast comes back into the pit area. They're working on a piece of metal there at the front end of the car, trying to get it secured.
What they've got to do is they've got to put that. John Kern will tell us what they're doing.
Okay, Benny, the hood would not close exactly, so it left an opening that air could get up under the hood. So they've had to cut a piece of metal and put it on. They're going to have to secure that down to close off the air hole to keep the air from flowing up under the hood. It looks like they've got it down. They may have to come back in and do a little taping around it, though.
Well, here at Talladega Superspeedway, we have been red for over a half hour because of a 17-car pileup on the backstretch that occurred during the 71st lap of this event. Virtually the entire field was running in 2 and 3 abreast formation off of turn number 2, and then the incident occurred.
You see Kyle Petty, the 6-car, Mark Martin, Ernie Irvan in the 4-car, and Ernie goes under the 6-car as he went up in the air. Those 3 cars made contact, and there was no place for the other cars to go. And look at the smoke.
A lot of water was sprayed up onto the racetrack, and that's one of the reasons why we had to be so red so long. There is Lake Speed and Rusty Wallace's cars. Now a real-time replay of the in-car from Huck Strickland. Same thing from Dale Jarrett's car. And Lake Speed's Phillips 66 in-car camera. A tragic weekend here at Talladega as we get set to go back to racing. Of course, a very terrible accident during the ARCA race last Saturday that has Chris Gerke in a critical condition. Kyle Petty has been airlifted from here to Caraway Medical Center in Birmingham for treatment of injuries sustained in that crash. Let us hope that the remainder of this race can go without incident whatsoever as the pace car comes in and the Winston 500 goes back under green flag conditions. Here comes Dale Earnhardt leading Daryl Waltrip down to the green flag and a resumption of this race. Jimmy Spencer running in 3rd position. Michael Waltrip is 4th. And Sterling Marlin is in 5th position as the green comes out and we're back to competition.
Now that one car, Rick Mast, that we were watching, fellas, had just come out of the pits. He's going to be about a 1/3 of a lap behind his front group with no one to draft with.
See Michael Waltrip way high on the racetrack trying to get by Mickey Gibbs.
Meanwhile, Ricky Rudd has fallen in behind Dale Earnhardt and ahead of Daryl Waltrip as Ricky continues to try to get one of his 2 laps back. Mark Martin, there's the first of the battered machines that was involved in that multi-car crash, back on pit road as he tries to re-enter the race and gain some valuable Winston Cup points.
As Ned said, there were 17 cars in the wreck. If he beats 16 of those, 3 points per position, 48 points more than if he stayed in the garage area.
That can make a whale of a difference come the end of the season at the Winston Cup banquet in New York City.
Now, for the fans that might have tuned in late, Ricky Rudd, running in 2nd place behind Dale Earnhardt, is 2 laps down. He had a spark plug wire to come off of his tied Chevrolet earlier in the race. Made a green flag pit stop and went 2 laps down, but since then has run with the leaders.
And he is running between 1st and 2nd at the moment as Dale Earnhardt, who won both races here last year, continues to lead. He has won the last 3 of 5 races with restrictor plates. Behind him, 3 more cars running together. Jimmy Spencer in 98, Michael Waltrip in 30, and Ken Schrader in the 25 car. That's 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Here comes the Ford. Bill Elliott and Sterling Marlin.
Jimmy Spencer has had a good race so far.
I take that back. Bill Elliott's not up there. That is Sterling Marlin in there again.
Jimmy Spencer started 29th, was 28th at the end of 20 laps, 24th at the end of 40, moved to 16th at the end of 60 laps, and now finds himself in 3rd position in the Banquet Chevrolet.
Closes in on the back of Daryl Waltrip. Now, is in the lead draft. There goes Davey Allison. Repairs on his car has been made. He goes, look at that, Bob. No nose at all on that automobile.
Slick Ford Thunderbird isn't so sleek and slick anymore as the field passes by.
Well, I expect we're going to see a little more careful driving now than we saw before.
Yeah.
They'll probably run that single file more than they did before.
Everybody has a pretty good finish right now.
Yeah, for sure. If you just hang on and finish the race, you'll be okay.
NASCAR has told the Mark Martin Folgers Ford to come in.
We see the Folgers crew conferring with the NASCAR official, saying, look, what do you want us to do? And he's going to tell them.
But the fact that he made at least one lap has put him ahead of a lot of cars that didn't finish that other lap, and he'll be a lap ahead of them, so he did pick up some points, even if he doesn't get to go back out.
Daryl Waltrip showing some good patience just right behind Ricky Rudd. Obviously, he knows Rudd is 2 laps down, and if he was up behind Earnhardt, maybe he could pass Dale, and I think it pays $100 a lap to lead here. He can get up to go up and get some of that lap money, but he's showing good patience, not worried about Rudd.
He's thinking of big money on that last lap.
That's correct.
You see that Earnhardt is the leader, and Ricky Rudd 2 laps down. There's Mark Martin going back out onto the racetrack. There are 11 cars hooked up in this lead draft. Not all of them on the lead lap, but 11 of them are running nose to tail as Mark Martin stays low on the racetrack, but re-enters the Winston 500 as the rest of the field comes through the tri-oval and heads into turn number 1. There's the 11-car line as it passes by.
I think the only car in that lead draft that is not in the lead lap is Elliott at the tail end.
In 12 more laps, we'll reach the halfway point, and don't forget you can still enter the right guard halfway challenge by dialing 1-900-737-1100. If you are called back and you know who the leader was at the halfway point, you will win a Pontiac Grand Prix SE, and the driver that leads lap number 94 at the halfway point will get $10,000 from Right Guard. Let's go to Jerry Punch. Jerry, why was that 6th car brought in by NASCAR?
A safety precaution, Bob. They're going to make Mark Martin either go to the garage area or come back behind the wall of pit road and replace that rear deck spoiler. Now, most of the rear sheet metal has been peeled away, and as the car comes down pit road, he'll probably make the turn in the garage area. They feel it's just not safe having the car on the track with no spoiler. If you got any speed at all in the corner, the car would loop around and tag the wall. So they're going to go back and put a rear deck spoiler on the car to keep the car stable on the track. Then he can come back out and drive.
You know, if you just take that car to the junkyard and say, how much will you give me for it? He'd probably get $75 for it.
If that. That is a good point, though, because regardless of what speed you're running at, you can always get in trouble, and without a rear spoiler, you can make small trouble into big trouble real quick.
So they'll have to take a deck bed off of their spare car, one on the truck, to put on the back of that bent-up Folgers car.
Plus the fact they got a spoiler rule. You can supposed to have so much spoiler back there, and it's supposed to be standing so high. Here's Waltrip now. He decided to try to get up and maybe get some of that lap money you were talking about, Eddie.
That had to be planned between he and Spencer. He had to motion to Spencer and say, Jimmy, let's go by, because, hey, you just can't do that, what those two guys did out of the clear blue sky.
And look where they're sending Ricky Rudd right on back towards the back.
Yeah, Ricky's hung on the outside of the racetrack, and his hopes of getting one lap back now diminish significantly as Bobby Hamilton pulls down to the inside and makes it a three-way battle with Sterling Marlin and Ricky Rudd through the tri-oval, but now they're 2 abreast going into the corner.
Bobby Hamilton's car has been running awfully good all day. He and Daryl Waltrip hooked up earlier. I think he's the guy that put Daryl Waltrip to the front. And then he got shuffled back once Daryl. You see Sterling Marlin trying to put them across 2 abreast, and Sterling moves up, trying to make it 3. You saw what happened when that happens.
Daryl Waltrip commented during the red flag, apparently, that he believed the 68 car was the fastest on the racetrack before the crash. And Another car that was very quick before the red was Rick Mast, the #1. However, he is running by himself, doesn't have a drafting partner, and finding it very, very difficult.
As a matter of fact, he's losing ground to the leaders, Bob. I mentioned when the green was reflown, that he was about a third of a lap down. He's over a half a lap behind now, but as you say, running out there by himself.
Ken Schrader and Michael Waltrip are battling for 4th position.
So much for my statement there. Hold on. I think we're going to see him mixing it up a half too much.
But meanwhile, while these guys are shuffling around, Waltrip and Earnhardt, as you can see, is nowhere to be seen right in front of Spencer.
That's right. They've taken off from the rest of the field. There they are. Earnhardt and Waltrip for first, while then back further, there's a battle for 3rd position as Ken Schrader comes to the high side of Jimmy Spencer, and they run side by side at the line.
And the more they do that, the more Daryl Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt is going to be able to pull away.
And those guys need to get in line. They need to get them a leader and get in line and
watch the speed at which this pack goes around Davey Allison, running very slowly at the bottom of the racetrack. There he is. That car looks like a Pinto or something.
He's racing the speed limit on any highway in the United States.
That's right. We are coming up on 6 more laps to go before the halfway point. This will be lap number 88 completed. Meanwhile, the battle for 3rd and now 4th position continues as Ken Schrader has 3rd. The battle for 4th between Michael Waltrip inside and Jimmy Spencer on the outside.
I'll tell you what, those guys need to get in line or they're going to say goodbye to Earnhardt and Waltrip.
Yep.
Ken Schrader has cleared the lead. He needs someone to run with him to be able to really run fast. He might be getting close enough to Waltrip and Earnhardt to pick up their draft. Pretty far back, but as those cars race side by side back there, it certainly is not helping Schrader.
Now they're arguing about who wants to run behind Schrader. I'll tell you what's happening. Spencer wants to be him. Michael Waltrip wanting to be him.
So Dale Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip battle for the lead here at the Winston 500. 88 laps out of 188 completed.
Spencer's not quite up to speed.
But Schrader is catching.
Yeah, Schrader is catching. Bobby Hamilton's got a good car.
That car is fast.
Imagine Phil's on the phone right now trying to get Felix's cellular number. Phil's probably watching this on satellite. That's not right. Well, if I knew it, I'd get it.
Is that Mark Martin coming back out?
Yeah.
Yep, sure does have a rear spoiler. Back at Talladega and the Winston 500, and the shuffle up front since we left you. Earnhardt and Waltrip continue to run first and second, but look who's first and third. It's Bobby Hamilton. 4th is Jimmy Spencer, and 5th is Ken Schrader. Those guys are beginning to catch the front two as we near the halfway point. 91 laps are in the books, and 94 is the halfway point.
3 more laps, and somebody's going to get 10,000. And I tell you what, Bobby Hamilton and Jimmy Spencer say those 2 guys in front have got enough money.
The second group of cars are certainly behind the lead group. They include Morgan Shepherd, Jeff Purvis,
Mickey Gibbs, Stanley Smith. There we're back to the lead, and look, those fellows have closed up right on the back bumper of Earnhardt.
$10,000 in the halfway point as that
Look at Daryl. He's trying to figure out how he hit by Earnhardt.
And he's probably motioning to Bobby Hamilton and said, come on, hey, let's do this.
Well, maybe he had an interview yesterday, if you folks saw it, with Daryl Waltrip, the owner and the driver. The owner's now saying, look, we can get $10,000. And here comes Hamilton on the inside.
He's going to just try to do it on his own.
Come on, Bobby, this ain't going to work.
And that might be working to Dale Earnhardt's advantage, but Hamilton's car is so fast down on the inside of the track. He couldn't do it that time. He had to fall back in line.
Get back in line. Now he walks to the inside again, and he's got Jimmy Spencer down there with him. But really, that's working to the advantage of Earnhardt, Waltrip, and Ken Schrader, as the next time around, 94 laps to be completed, and the halfway challenge will have occurred.
See, that's what I mean a little bit ago when Spencer and Daryl Waltrip went around Ricky Rudd. It had to be a planned move because Bobby Hamilton didn't plan with anyone, and boom, away they drove over.
That his spotter told him to go to the inside. That was Bobby Hamilton, and they motioned for Spencer to go with him, but Jimmy's car just wouldn't do it, or he decided not to do something anyway. He didn't go with him.
And Schrader now runs in third position behind Waltrip and Earnhardt. This time around, it's the halfway challenge, $10,000 at stake.
Well, Spencer keeps dropping some positions. He's on the inside. He moves up now. And here comes the race for the money. And watch Earnhardt. He's going to be awful wide.
Will it be Earnhardt or will it be Daryl Waltrip? They come through the tri-oval. Earnhardt holding off Waltrip at the moment. Daryl apparently is not going to make a move for it, as they hit the line. It is Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt leads at the halfway point. That's the driver's name that you must know. If the right guard people have called you and you have entered the right guard halfway challenge, when they ask you who is leading at the halfway point, tell them Dale Earnhardt, and you'll win a Pontiac Grand Prix SE.
Watch the leaders. Jeff Purvis is off the pace going down the back straightaway. Phoenix Racing.
Daryl beginning to run a little high here now.
Here's the Big A Auto Parts on-track interval between Dale Earnhardt and Bobby Hamilton. And Hamilton, it appears, is, well, he's gained about just a little over a half second, but the two cars, the times of the two cars are really pretty consistent.
That's a story of a few laps ago. The story right now is what's Daryl Waltrip's problem, because he's dropped from second all the way back to sixth.
Well, he just all of a sudden started running high on the racetrack, and several cars, in fact 3 cars, have gone by him.
You know, Ned, I just figured out what the deal is. When he couldn't win the $10,000, he said, hey, you know, what could be?
Yep, he's just hanging back, knowing that he can challenge perhaps later, but right now chooses to fall back a little bit.
Yeah.
He's trying some different lines out there, seeing if the car will work as well up high as it does down low.
And he might have heated up just a little bit as we see Phil Purvis coming into the pits. Daryl's engine might have heated up a little bit as close as he was running behind Dale Earnhardt there, trying to make a draft past him.
This is the Neil Bonnet-owned car, driven by Jeff Purvis. Number 51 and Joe Ruttman, one of those involved in the 17-car crash on the backstretch, is also back out on the racetrack. Mark Martin, by the way, is out there. The NASCAR black flagged him to have him come in and put a rear spoiler on the car. He did, and he's now back out there.
Pat Strickland just went back out on the track as well, and Rick Wilson in the car number 8. So a lot of repairs have been made. There's the Snickers Buick of Rick Wilson.
And Daryl Waltrip is back on the move toward the front. He's working alongside his younger brother, Michael.
Man, can you imagine his brother doing something like that to him? Wouldn't let him in.
Caught him right out there and said, big brother, you're going to have to fall in behind.
He said, wait till I tell Leroy about this.
Of course, Leroy's the father.
So Waltrip is back to 5th position. Michael is 4th. Sterling Marlin 3rd. Ken Schrader is 2nd. And the leader of the Winston 500 is Dale Earnhardt. Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, Dr. Jerry Punch, and John Kernan back at Talladega Superspeedway in the Winston 500. The man on the move right now is Michael Waltrip. He's taken over 2nd position.
Man, he just went by Sterling Marlin and Ken Schrader right down on the inside and said goodbye. Didn't have any help. His brother Daryl was back there, and he expected him to come with him, but Daryl didn't do it or couldn't do it. Michael just went on by himself. Now he'll take Earnhardt in a lap or two.
Wow. Michael Waltrip.
He's had some very consistent finishes this year. He's been in the top 10 5 times this year, including a third at Darlington. And so Michael Waltrip could be in a position to have a very good finish here this afternoon, if not a win. He's right on the rear spoiler of Dale Earnhardt.
Mikey, as he's affectionately known in the garage area, which he doesn't particularly care for. All those 5 cars in the lead lap.
It might not be as easy to pass Earnhardt as it was to pass those other 2 cars. Don't know what makes why it was so easy for him to pass those other 2 cars, but now they've caught right back up to him and sitting there wrecking him.
Behind this group of 5 cars, 6th at the moment is Harry Gant, then Bobby Hamilton. And Hut Strickland is on pit road with a lot of 200-mile-an-hour tape on the front of that rear Vestas Buick, but he is ready to go back out there, and our in-car camera is continuing to work in his car.
Those things take a look and keep on ticking, don't they?
Top 5 coming down through the tri-oval. That is Davey Allison that they are passing. Davey with absolutely no aerodynamics whatsoever on that car. He's still out there making laps and picking up points. Daryl Waltrip challenges Ken Schrader for 3rd position. He'll get it. Sterling Marlin goes to 4th, and Ken Schrader knocks back to 5th.
How Sterling Marlin is feeling. You know, he was this is the first race that he will have tried to run all the way since his burns. And
I'll bet that perhaps that break we had, that 30-minute red flag period, if he was showing any fatigue, gave him some renewed enthusiasm. Now the partners are back together as Michael and Daryl.
Wouldn't you? The brothers might gain up on him here.
Yep. We may see a real buddy situation here.
But the problem is, which brother do we let run in front? That's the question.
And look how Harry Gant and the rest of the group has caught that top 5.
Yes, they have. They were more than a second behind a little bit ago when we looked at them, but now they have caught up completely. We'll see him come into the pictures and see Hut Strickland down on the inside. Yep. There they are. Harry Gant running in 6th. Hut Strickland 7th. Bobby Hamilton in 7th position.
That shows what happens when you get in line, but when you start running side by side. See, Daryl is telling Michael when he moved down, he said, come on, let's go below, go down on the bottom.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I think it was too. Well, they're staying in formation. What do you think? Can't these guys drop to the inside and hook up and go right around Earnhardt?
Well, they have to know when they're going to do it. They just can't do it all of a sudden. But Daryl he's telling Michael by going low. He keeps telling Michael, look, let's go bottom. But Earnhardt, he saw Walter back there. He said, I'm not going to let them guys on the inside of me.
Yeah, he's covering that bottom. He's covering that bottom spot very well. Dale Earnhardt is, and that's keeping him from doing that.
Well, that's what Walter was doing in the 3 and 4. He was moving down to let Michael know, hey, you can run on the bottom. I know you can run on the bottom. I saw you. Let's go by Earnhardt. And now that was not a good time to do it because the 6 car was there. They saw that coming down the back straightaway and realized it was not a good time to try.
So they continue to run pretty much in single file formation as Earnhardt leads the string of cars.
Right on the bottom line.
Sure is. He's right on the bottom line of 1 and 2.
If they're going to pass him, they're going to have to do it on the outside. He covers that inside. So Bill Elliott back in the back of that pack. He's just hanging on there.
10 cars in this draft now.
9 of them in the lead lap.
Earnhardt again is pasted right onto the bottom of the track.
Well, I mean, it's very difficult to pass Earnhardt the way he's running right. See, Daryl, as he moves down, he's trying to tell Michael, let's do it up over one time, brother.
Let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Someplace.
But see, Earnhardt's running low in the corners and letting the car drift out against the retaining wall. they're going to have to do it off the trial or entering the trial one time. Or a flat racetrack like the backstretch race.
But they got to get a run off of 2 before they can do that.
Exactly. Well, now here we go. Michael's going to try to go on the inside. Yep. Earnhardt took the spot away.
Yes, he did. He just covered.
Protected the position. We'll see if they do it in the tri-oval this time.
No, he wasn't in position to. He came off the turn a couple car lengths behind it, and it just wouldn't work.
Now's the time they need to do it. As they come off the tri-oval, they need to hook up right now and try to go on the inside. But they just can't do it.
But one thing they don't want to do, and that's take an unnecessary chance.
Because we've seen what happens.
Yep.
When these cars get 2 and 3 abreast. It's not pretty.
Lap 105, and here is our Western Auto Race recap. Dale Earnhardt is the leader. He's led 72 of the 105 laps. We've had 3 caution periods, total of 18 laps, and a red. There are 15 cars on the lead lap with an average speed of 150.16 miles an hour. Our leaders have included Earnhardt, Kyle Petty, who has been taken to the hospital for treatment of a broken leg, Ernie Irvan, Davey Allison, Musgrave, and Rudd. Now here comes Daryl Waltrip making a bid for the lead. He's on the low side of Earnhardt, and he's got Michael with him on the bottom side. So if they're going to take the lead from Dale, they'll do it now. Or will they?
I think they planned that a lap ago when Daryl went by Michael. I think Michael did not resist him. Figured his car would run faster in front, and they could work together. Up there, helping Earnhardt.
Now they knock Daryl out.
Oh, Michael is well on behind Sterling Marlin and says, bye-bye, brother.
Man, oh, man.
Daryl might be able to do it on his own, fellas.
Now it may be difficult for Daryl to get back in line.
Michael is looking to pull down and help Daryl someday now.
Now he decided he would help him a little bit, but it's too late.
Yep. No, he's not going to help him. He's going to pull up and pass him. Follow those other fellas through.
Well, that's brotherly love for you, isn't it? Okay, let's go back to the Western Auto Race recap. Musgrave has led a lap under caution, also Rudd and Ken Schrader. Those cars out of the race, most of them because of the crash. Larry Pearson was the first out in a separate crash. Richard Petty also. Greg Sachs, Kyle Petty, Dale Jarrett, Chad Little, Terry Labonte, Wally Dallenbach Jr., and Buddy Baker, all out of competition. Now, our standings in the Western Auto Mechanic of the Year award have Waddell Wilson of Ricky Rudd's crew on top, but by just a small 3-point margin over Kirk Shelmerdine from Dale Earnhardt's crew, Larry McReynolds from Brett Bodine, and the others. Now, we have Sterling Marlin. That has slid into second position. Michael Waltrip third, Daryl Waltrip fourth, and Ken Schrader in fifth position as they pass by Rick Mast. 109 out of 188 laps complete at Talladega.
Kenny, you made a mess.
What'd you do? Sterling.
Uh-oh. Ooh, he's got him on the outside.
Uh-oh. Earnhardt may be headed for the back. Look at Michael.
Michael was pushing him, wasn't he?
Look at him pull away.
But that's because they're running
side by side.
Tell you what, boys, Earnhardt's tough, man.
Looked like Daryl had to get off it.
I think Michael's got to do it. He's got somebody easier to pass than.
Yeah.
He's got momentum. Here comes Harry Gant by trying to get by Daryl.
back at Talladega, where we've had a shuffling of the positions up front. Sterling Marlin has taken the lead from Dale Earnhardt, and Michael Waltrip has moved to second position, dropping Earnhardt back to third, then Schrader, then Daryl Waltrip, and then Harry Gant.
Earnhardt took a look on the inside of Michael Waltrip, couldn't make the pass. Sterling Marlin, Maxwell House, or Thunderbird.
And look at this statistic. The first lap that he has led here at Talladega Superspeedway in a couple of years.
Here comes Harry Gant back on the inside of Ken Schrader.
That is the battle for fifth position.
Schrader takes it. He's now fifth. Harry Gant moves back into sixth.
And Michael Waltrip making a bid for the lead as he goes inside of Sterling Marlin, and it appears as if Michael Waltrip will go into the lead as he pulls cleanly ahead of Sterling in turn number 2. Now they race nearly side by side down the backstretch. Michael drops way low on the racetrack, trying to catch a draft somewhere, but cannot do it. He pulls back in line in second, and now here comes Earnhardt to try to take second away from Michael Waltrip, and he does it easily. Daryl Waltrip will try to take third away, and he does, dropping his younger brother back to fourth.
Michael said, what did I do so wrong?
He pulled out of line, that's why. And Rusty Wallace did not give him enough draft to help him.
And Earnhardt would like very much to have the lead of this race back. At the line, he is right beside Sterling Marlin. He drops that Chevy way down to the low side of the track and passes Sterling Marlin with ease to go back into the lead.
Now here comes Michael. He thought he would get some draft off Earnhardt, but as soon as he pulled low, Dale pulled up. Now, you remember a while ago when he hung Daryl out to dry? Now, who's Daryl going to follow now, huh?
I want to see him.
He's trying to decide. Well, he chose to go with Sterling Marlin. I'm not sure that was smart. Now he's going to go down and...
Now he's got to help him, isn't he?
Yeah.
And this may move Marlin back a couple of spots.
Well, look at that back behind.
Yeah, Schrader looks down to the low line and he says, I think I'll go with the Waltrips. But now they get kind of out of line.
Now Mikey's going to try him on the outside. Has brother Daryl there to go with him. They might get him coming off of turn 2 and as they head down the backstretch.
Michael Waltrip in a very strong performance. The top 6, 7 cars, right 6 cars, right there running 2 by 2.
Earnhardt pulls way down, so they'll not get any advantage off his draft.
Michael Waltrip has the lead, though.
Now, we see Rick Master in the middle of that pack. They lapped him. He was out there running by himself, but once he got in with the pack, he can run with them. But unfortunately, he had nobody to draft with. He came out of the pits late on the last green flag drop. That just fouled him.
Michael Waltrip has a lead over Dale Earnhardt. We asked several drivers earlier, how do you pass here with the new restrictor plate? We asked several drivers earlier, how do you find a drafting partner? And now the question that Benny asked several drivers earlier in the weekends concerns this problem of drafting. The question, what happens if you're drafting a partner and he hangs you out to dry?
That's just racing. You forget. You'll remember it the next day pretty strongly and all the night after the race, but 2 days next. You get back to the racetrack on the 3rd or 4th day later, just forgot about it.
Hopefully you'll find that individual before a few laps to go, and you'll send your guy down to the pit and say, hey, you help us, we'll split the money with you. You know, so I don't know. A couple years ago, finally got down, I think about 6 laps to go, and it's like a war. I mean, like Martinsville, just tie arms up down the sides, everybody sideways and everything else. It's just, it was just a cutthroat deal, and I wound up by second on the white flag lap, went up 6th.
All fair and love war in the last lap.
You're catching a pack, and you say you wave for him to come on, and you drop low, and you go to pass him, and you look in your mirror, and he didn't drop. And you said, oh, no. And you get halfway there, and you end up about 20th. But you remember that when you come back up through the pack. And that guy goes, oh, yeah, come on. And you go. He drops, you laugh, and you keep going.
I guess, the smarter you are, the less you let that happen to yourself.
You got to remember, though, whose throat you cut as the day goes on. You kind of make a mental list of that, because when you get out there and you're relying on somebody whose throat you cut 50 laps, 100 laps ago, liable to pay for it big time.
So there's some comments from some drivers on what happens when your partner hangs you out to dry. And I hope you noticed how well Sterling Marlin looks. Of course, he suffered some facial burns in that crash at Bristol, and He has healed from those very well, and Sterling looks good. He's also running very well here at this track. Let's go down to Jerry Punch with some comments on pit strategy. Jerry?
Bob, they are already picking partners once again for their pit stop. The next stop, we are told, for the leader will be around lap 121, some 4 or 5 laps away. Bill Engel, who's the crew chief for Michael Waltrip, came down and talked to Richard Jones just moments ago, and they've agreed to pit together on lap 121. So we'll watch the car number 30, the Pennzoil car, and Dale Earnhardt's car come down and pit together. And maybe Benny Parsons can explain what the advantage is of having 2 cars pit and leave pit road together.
Well, you cannot run on this racetrack by yourself. Rick Mast has proved that. He went out, 35 laps ago, was running a half lap behind or about a third of a lap behind by himself, and they lapped him in two-thirds of a lap. They made up on him in about 35 laps, and that's the same thing will happen to Dale Earnhardt. If the Waltrips were to get hooked up and he could not find a drafting partner, they would lap him in a pit stop at 100 miles. The fact that 2 cars run together so much faster than a single car.
We last had pit stops on lap 73. We'll be seeing some pit stops momentarily in the next few laps. Earnhardt continues to hang on to the lead. There's Daryl Waltrip second, Michael Waltrip third. And Bobby Hamilton has moved himself back into 4th spot. Ken Schrader 5th. And then Sterling Marlin.
Somebody might try to... Jerry Punch talked about lap 120, 121. If somebody tries to go to 130... they might make it on 1 more pit stop. If you can find a couple of cars that might make it on 1 more pit stop, then you have a clear advantage on. If they stop at 120, that leaves 68 laps to go. They're only going to run about 50 laps now, so I don't think that they can make it
if they stop.
If they stop at 50 laps, so
I'll bet Daryl Waltrip will stay out there and run them all.
If he can find somebody to run with. Yeah. If they all pit, then Daryl Waltrip has no choice but to pit as well.
14 cars remain on the lead lap.
That one car that Rick Master we were talking about, he is running in 15th place. He is now a lap down. He's running with the lead pack, but is the 1 lap down.
The 2 guys out front, Dale Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip, each have 4 wins at this racetrack. Daryl has won this event twice, and the race twice. Dale Earnhardt has won this event once, and the summer race 3 times.
We saw that Purelator Chevrolet of Derek Cope being passed with these group of leaders. Here comes Earnhardt in the pits. Also the Waltrips, they're trying to crash coming in the pits.
Wow, they got all jammed up there as they braked coming off the corner and headed toward pit road, but they're okay. They're coming in for their pit stops. Daryl Waltrip, Sterling Marlin, Michael Waltrip, and Dale Earnhardt all come in. Let's go to Jerry Punch in Dale's pit.
Just as predicted, planned pit strategy. 17 on the bottom, 3 on top. Daryl Waltrip on the bottom of your screen as the Western Auto crew working on his car. Likewise, Goodrich's crew working right side tires. And we'll come around. They will just change right side tires. Waltrip is out. Now Earnhardt is off the jack. And they come down pit road. Earnhardt leaving. Here's Michael Waltrip, Daryl Waltrip, Sterling Marlin, and the 4 lead cars will go back up and hook up to the grass. It's Benny Parsons and try to get back to the front.
Well, so much fun for my prediction that Daryl Waltrip wouldn't stop. He's like, boy, I'm hitting him today, Arnold.
I think he was just terrified of losing that Earnhardt draft, man.
I think you're right.
Yeah, he probably changed his mind at the last minute. That's one of the things that created that traffic jam there coming off the 4th corner.
Now, meanwhile, there are some cars in this pack that get excellent fuel mileage. Kenny Schrader, Harry Gant, 2 cars that is in the lead lap. They get great fuel mileage. If they ride for another 10 laps, Ned, they might be able to make it the rest of the way.
That'd be interesting to see how long they do go.
Schrader is the leader of the race. 2nd place is Harry Gant.
Now, I think Ricky Rudd made a green flag pit stop a little while ago. He might not have been, but I thought I said, no, he didn't get out of that group. I thought he'd gotten out of that group. That was probably, he would be a good drafting partner, but that's not the case. So here I am wrong again.
122 laps out of 188 completed here at Talladega Superspeedway, live on this Monday afternoon. We'll be right back. Back back at Talladega, where Ken Schrader leads the Winston 500. After some have made pit stops, Ken has a pit stop coming up before too long. He did win here at Talladega back in 1988 in the Die Hard 500, which is the race that's held in July.
Bill Elliott running in second place now. There are 2 lap cars between Ken Schrader and Bill Elliott. And Harry
Look at Schrader. Schrader is waving his hand as he goes down the backstretch, perhaps indicating he's coming in.
He's telling everyone behind him he's coming to pit. And Ricky Rudd is going to pit with him. Now, this is a Hendrick team move.
Yep.
Because now they have a drafting partner when he goes back on the racetrack. Schrader does. So those 2 cars will pit together.
Schrader in 25 and Rudd in number 5. Very carefully bring their cars down off the 33 degrees of banking. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Scheduled pit stop for Kenny Schrader. As you said, gentlemen, they wanted Ricky Rudd to pit with them. Rudd had lost 2 laps earlier in the day, and they will have a drafting partner when they go back out. Remember, here is Schrader trying to get the car stopped right in the middle of his pit. It's not going that line. He doesn't stop the car perfectly. Through now, it's scampering over the wall. They will change only 2 right side tires. They need so much time to get this car back on the track as much as possible. Car number 3 and 17. That is Earnhardt. Daryl Waltrip headed for turns 3 and 4, but Schrader is away. He will have to come back to full speed as Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip bear down in turn 4.
Both Hendrick cars work out of the pit area. Meanwhile, here come Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip and Michael Waltrip also. Now the 33 car of Harry Gant is the leader, but remember he's going to need a pit stop before long, and when he does come in, that will give the lead back to Dale Earnhardt.
Now Dale Earnhardt had gotten out of the pits and beaten Daryl Waltrip. When they got up to speed, he was about 2.5 seconds ahead of Daryl Waltrip. Waltrip had run him down. Caught him. He had some help from Michael, but we don't even see Michael in the picture there right now.
He's not too far behind, but is several car lengths. There he is. There's the leader, Harry Gant, at number 33. He's going to try to stretch it to lap 132.
132, only leaving him 64 laps to go the rest of the way. Oh, I'm sorry. 56 laps. 188's the distance we go with him. Yep.
There's Gant's crew as they watch him remain on the racetrack. He moves to the inside of Dave Marcus in car 71, 128. So he's going to go.
He's getting a tough break right now because Dave Marcus, they need to get in line because he's using more fuel right now trying to pass Marcus.
I think Harry may have signaled to Dave.
Well, let's kill him. Let's kill him, Harry, right there, running side by side. He needs to be in line to save fuel. They decided to go with a strategy of saving fuel, and here all that goes right out the window.
Yeah, he's not saving fuel there.
How can you save fuel? That's running right behind someone and not running the throttle on the floor all the time. Being able to lift off the throttle a little bit. Now, to stay even in that position, he's having to run wide open all the way around the racetrack. Now he falls in behind Dave Marcus.
And Daryl Waltrip, who are second and third. The leader, Harry Gant, has not yet pitted. He's coming off in corner number 4. There he is with Dave Marcus.
Drafting on the back of Marcus.
That's lap 130.
He is about 39 seconds ahead of the second place car of Dale Earnhardt, which is not enough time for him to make a pit stop and get his speed back up. But he's going to use this thing on green the rest of the way and making only one more pit stop. And that's his steps in order to do that.
How many times have we mentioned this year on our ESPN telecast about how well Harry Gant has run this year? Now, the finishing positions don't reflect in many instances how well this car has performed. He has had 3 top 10 finishes, including 2 thirds at Richmond and Rockingham, and a 5th last weekend at Martinsville, but he has been in the hunt every single race we televised this year.
So he could be coming in the next lap. This is 132 the next time by. There's his board to signal where he's located on the pit road.
You might also mention that Harry Gant is 51 years of age. There are the
cars that are running second and third.
Yep.
There's Michael Waltrip running 4th now, and Harry Gant comes in the pits.
Well, fellas, he might be able, there's some other cars there. Yeah, he might be able to pick up, he's coming into the pits, but that one car, that might be some planned things too.
Exactly.
That he can pick up and draft with.
Yep.
Both of those are good fast cars, teammates.
Yep. And also, they're owned by brothers.
Yep.
They're owned by brothers.
So Mast is in also ahead of Harry Gant, and these 2 cars will undoubtedly hook up as they come out of on the racetrack and hook up as drafting partners.
That's the one thing I was going to say, that Harry might lack was a good drafting partner, but he's sitting right in front of him.
Let's go to John Kernan quickly.
Okay, both of them
Andy Petrie and the crew said all they need is a little luck to go their way. Remember at Martinsville last week, they were running second and going into the turn, hit some oil and some water and spun out in turn 1. They said, hey, they came back and finished on the lead lap, finished 5th. Said all they need is a little luck. Well, they're trying to make some luck of their own by stretching this fuel stock. They should be able to go the 56 remaining laps if it remains green. And that should be the edge to win the race, and they should also hook back up with Rick Mast as a drafting partner.
I don't know. Rick Mast is awful far ahead, isn't he, man?
Yeah, he'd have to slow down. But Harry might be able to pick up some other cars. The Bill Elliott and Jeff Bodine and some of them are going to be coming into the picture with him before too long, so he might still have some good cars to run with.
So with the pit stops completed, it is Dale Earnhardt who is back on top of the Winston 500 with Daryl Waltrip running in second spot. Back after these messages.
Here we go. The leader, Dale Earnhardt. Also, Daryl Waltrip is running second. We keep talking that they have to make one more pit stop, and Harry Gant, just a moment ago, made his last and final pit stop, or should be able to go the rest of the way. So we'll have to see how the strategy plays out.
You can see Rusty Wallace's car that is back out there on the race after being involved in that accident. Let's go to Jerry Punch with more on this pit strategy.
Just talking to Richard Childress and Kurt Shelford on some of the crew members here in the Earnhardt pit, and they would like to be able to build a comfortable lead on Harry Gant. And right now they're not very comfortable at all. The lead is only about 6.5 to 7 seconds differential between the 3 car and the 33 car. They know they have to pit at least once more. They would like to be able to build about a 10 or 12 more second lead over Gant so they could possibly have a shot at a gas and go. But right now Gant is not cooperating.
Leads right now, but his need for another pit stop before this race is over may spell the difference. Racetrack that's bathed in sunshine now after heavy rain yesterday and a postponement of this event. We are 136 laps into this race. Look at these 3 cars drafting there on the bottom with each other.
And there's nothing left to draft. We just moved around Morgan Shepherd in the motorcraft board. Morgan had been one of those cars that had been running in the lead lap, but not in the lead pack. So that perhaps will put him, in fact, I'm sure it does put him a lap down.
Remember last year, about the only driver that could run with Dale Earnhardt was Greg Sachs. And now, at least at this stage of the race, Daryl Waltrip is running with Dale Earnhardt, taking a look to the inside there, but making no move.
He might be moving to the inside to get just a little bit of air through the grill. He might be running a little bit warm.
These are the guys that I referred to a little while ago drafting together. These machines are beat up and banged up, and there's no aerodynamics whatsoever to them, but they're still running out there on the bottom of the racetrack. Look at what used to be the front end of the Haviland Ford.
There are no front ends. There are no front ends. Look like a demolition derby.
They got their own drafting going on, their own race going on right there. Now, fellas, the last time around, Harry Gant gained about a half a second on Dale Earnhardt.
Harry Gant's car is awfully fast now.
Yeah. He had picked up the draft of Kenny Schrader and Ricky Rudd. and that allowed him to move the engine closer. As Jerry Punch pointed out, about 6.5 seconds when he talked about it, and now he has it down under 6 seconds. Of course, the leader, that's Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip. Michael Waltrip is third, Jimmy Spencer fourth, and in fifth place is Sterling Marlin. Those three cars are locked up in the draft a little farther back.
King Richard Petty was get all the information that you need to order home video Ride of a Lifetime. 1-800-342-3400. Jerry Punch has more from Daryl Waltrip's pit.
Well, gentlemen, remember a year ago you were talking a minute ago about how well Greg Sachs ran. He was one of the few cars that could run with Dale Earnhardt, and it was a Chevrolet Lumina. Well, maybe a little deja vu here for Daryl Waltrip. The engine builder for Greg Sachs a year ago was Charlie Seegers. That's the same man who built the engine for Daryl Waltrip here at Talladega. Waltrip buying engines, of course, from Hendrick Motorsports, and Charlie Seegers is an employee there in the engine room. So maybe Waltrip can hang on just like Sachs did a year ago and maybe get a little bit different shot at Earnhardt with a checkered flag ball.
He's running very well, as all day, but right now is content, or appears to be content, with staying right there in Earnhardt's draft and running in second position.
He's not content. He just feels like it's the best thing for him to do right now.
Yeah, it's the smart thing for him to do. No question about that. Now, Harry Gant has cut that deficit to about 5.5 seconds now, although he had moved up on the car number 25 as Timmy Schrader was drafting him, but now he has dropped off. So Gant, I don't know if he has purposely slowed down or what has happened, but he has lost the draft of the cars that helped him to move to gain that second number.
What happened is he passed Stanley Smith up in turn 3. Those other 3 cars got by Stanley clean and went in turn 3. Harry got hung on the outside, had to get out of the throttle, and he lost 10 car lengths, 15 car lengths because of it.
Okay.
Daryl is moving around like his car is running a little bit more.
We'll look over Harry Gant. And
there he is.
There he is, running at the front of that pack now with Jeff Bodine.
Yeah, but he had run away from Jeff Bodine until he had that little situation that Danny talked about. And now he has to pick back up. Now, he's the fellow that's using the gas there in front of Jeff Bodine. Bodine will be saving some gas in the third line before.
That's right, because Harry's having run wide open right now, trying to catch up with that group of cars he was with just a moment ago.
So it's 7th and 8th right here. Harry Gant is 7th, and Jeff Bodine of the Budweiser Ford is in 9th place, rather in 8th place on the lead lap. There are 11 cars that remain on the lead lap.
Jeff is in front of him. Now if he can just get a little bit draft off Morgan, maybe those 3 cars, if he can get in the middle of that, he can save some fuel, and maybe they can get that group in front of him right there, those guys. He was right behind him just a moment ago.
There's the 1 car of Rick Mast that was going to be his drafting partner out of the pits, but it didn't work out that way.
Well, it was. He had caught him back, and, 3 laps ago, he was right with this group of 3 cars. But as Benny said, he had to limp when he ran up on some lap track, and it just cost him. Harry Gant, it cost him.
Panning back to show you the interval between that Rick Mast car and Harry Gant.
And that's the penalty you pay for lifting off the throttle. You say, don't they hit the brakes when they go in the corner? No. They run around this racetrack wide open, never taking the foot off the accelerator.
Now both Daryl Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt have passed the 26 car of Brett Bodine, and so there are 10 cars on the lead lap. The top 15 at this moment, it is Dale Earnhardt leading. Daryl Waltrip running in second position, followed by Michael Waltrip, Jimmy Spencer, and Sterling Marlin. 6 through 10, Schrader, Gant, Bodine, Elliott, and Hamilton, 11 through 15. Bodine, Shepard, Mast, Musgrave, and Marcus.
Down here on Harry Gant. And what they understand, Harry Gant ran 58 laps the last time before he pitted. But in that 58 laps, there were 4 caution laps in there. So he would have to run 56 green flag laps if it goes all the way green, and he might just not make it. That's what the 3 crew are trying to figure here.
Yeah, plus the fact that he was running in the draft most of all of that time.
Right, and now he's using up a lot of fuel out there by himself.
Yeah. Good call for the race. Outside of the corner.
Bob Jenkins, along with Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, Dr. Jerry Bunch, and John Kernan back at Talladega Superspeedway as we have completed 145 of 188 laps in the Winston 500. The lead is held by Dale Earnhardt. Running a close second is Daryl Waltrip. Third position belongs to Michael Waltrip and Jimmy Spencer and Sterling Marlin. Now, we talked about how most everyone is going to need at least one more pit stop. There was question as to whether Harry Gant would be able to. At first, it was thought that he would be able to go the rest of the distance. But, Jerry, what's the calculation say now? Might he be able to go the distance, or is he going to have to stop?
This is not coming from the Harry Gant crew. This is coming from other crews who are trying to beat Harry Gant. But their figuring is this, Bob. Gant ran 58 laps on his last fuel stop. But in that 58 laps, there were 4 caution laps. Now, he pitted on lap 132. That would mean he'd have to go 56 green flag laps to the conclusion and win the race. And indeed, if he were to do that, and he could run 56 laps, Earnhardt, Waltrip, everyone else will have to stop, and he would win the race. But the question mark for the Earnhardt crew is, can he make it 56 laps under green? They think it's going to be awfully close. And let's see what they're actually figuring up with the Harry Gant pit where John Kernan's standing. John?
Let's just say cautiously optimistic. Andy Petrie, the 3 crews, maybe a little bit doubting you'd go 56 green flag laps. Can you do it?
Well, we're going to try to. We went 58 that time with a little help with the caution flags. But, we're going to roll the dice. We're going to try.
After you refilled the tanks back here, the 2 11-gallon tanks of fuel, did you find that you had enough fuel in it to go 56 green flag?
It just about took all of it. It's going to be close.
Well, they're going to roll the dice here in the Harry Gant pit. Like I said, they need some luck. They feel that they're going to make their own luck if this stays green the rest of the way.
And now, fellas, a couple laps ago, he just moved over and let Bill Elliott and Jeff Bodine go by. He almost overdid it. He's caught back up to him now so he can draft. Now, see, third-place car, Michael Waltrip there in front of him. Michael was several laps ago pretty far in front of this group, but they have drafted up to him now. But Harry Gant dropped at the end of that line just to sit there and conserve gas. But then I would have thought that he would stay in the middle of it because sometimes that car behind you can help a little bit too, and he might have even saved more gas.
He could have saved a little bit more, but he doesn't have to save that much. He can do 56. I really believe he can make 56 laps. He can just rise behind these folks. Now, Bill Elliott, we've been watching Bill Elliott, and he is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. But now, can he go by that entire group? That's going to be an awfully hard task.
So the bottom line is, don't go away, because we have the possibility of a very exciting finish to this race here in the next half hour or so. There is Dale Earnhardt leading Daryl Waltrip. They're running first and second, and Earnhardt's last lap was 192.714. And here is the interval between the first 2 and 3rd, 4th, 5th, and on back.
And Harry Gant is right at the tail end of that pack, as we said, riding along, trying to save all the gasoline he can.
Well, that's about 5.5 seconds back to that second group of cars. So now there are just 9 cars in the lead lap. Bobby Hamilton has gone a lap down to the leaders. 10th position.
Rick Mast moving to the bottom of the racetrack to pass Joe Woodland in the 17-car crash. By the way, if you're just joining us, we did have a red flag. 17 cars involved in a massive pileup at the end of the backstretch that has sent Kyle Petty to Caraway Medical Center in Birmingham for treatment of a broken leg.
The reason we're showing you the 33 car so much is that he's the fella that we think can go the rest of the way. Here comes Daryl.
Daryl Waltrip may be trying to
take over the lead here from Dale Earnhardt. Waltrip moving to the inside, and he indeed does pass Earnhardt and takes the lead. Daryl Waltrip goes to the front.
Maybe he figures he can lead them a little bit faster than Earnhardt is going to lead them. They're going to have to make a pit stop. They know that for sure. And so they will probably make their pit stop together, but I guess they figured that maybe Daryl might pull them. They're going to test it and see if he can pull them a little bit faster than Earnhardt was pulling them, because they're not getting away from that second group of cars. They need to build up some distance.
37 more laps to go in the Winston 500. Daryl Waltrip has moved to the front. Dale Earnhardt runs second. Back after these messages with more.
No, I don't think so. There's no connection other than that.
I would guess that since they were not pulling away from it,
I don't know if Daryl's
Okay. Okay, good.
ESPN Speed World with live coverage of the Winston 500 from Talladega, Alabama. Just about 5 o'clock Eastern time. Many of you may be just getting home from work saying, what's going on? This race was supposed to start at noon Eastern time and should have been over. Well, we had a rain delay to begin the things this morning. It rained hard again and wetted the track, allowing us to get this race started at just about 2 o'clock Eastern time. And then we had a red flag situation because of a crash. Now, the crash occurred when the cars were running in a big bunch, and it involved, first of all, Ernie Irvan, Kyle Petty, and Mark Martin.
And Mark Martin's car gets up in there, but fortunately comes down on all 4 tires. And there was, 17 cars involved in this. Maybe 2 or 3 drove through. The one car of Rick Mast was able to get through without too much damage. Bill Elliott we see driving through. Brett Bodine. But a few cars was able to drive through, but not many.
And the injured driver in all this was Kyle Petty. He sustained a broken leg and possible other injuries. Now look at this. And he's being treated at Caraway Medical Center. How about this? A little strategy going on here between Richard Childress on the left of Dale Earnhardt's crew.
And Jeff Hammond.
And Jeff Hammond from Daryl Waltrip's crew on the right as they discuss strategy.
We're trying to figure out what in the world they can do when they're going to stop so they can stop and draft together.
Jerry, what's going on down there?
I think what Richard was trying to do a little bit ago was to have Dale drop back a little bit and follow DW, Daryl Waltrip, because Waltrip can get a little better gas mileage than can Earnhardt. And, of course, if Earnhardt can tease another extra lap or 2 out of it, maybe in the green flag, and hope for a yellow flag in the last 10 or 12 laps, then they'll be able to make that final stop under the caution. But otherwise, Earnhardt would be the first car that would probably have to pit among the leaders, and Waltrip could go maybe another 3 or 4 laps. So Earnhardt could tend to sit back there and ride the draft and just stay there and maybe save a little gas.
Very interesting. By the way, when Daryl Waltrip took the lead just a few laps ago, that was the first time that he had led today. We've had 21 lead changes among 9 drivers.
Now, fellas, according to my unofficial stopwatch, they're running about 0.10 of a second per lap faster with Waltrip in the lead than they were when Earnhardt was in the lead. It'll help them a little bit as far as those other cars back there are concerned. The man that they're worried about is still Harry Gant. They know they got the rest of the field covered because everybody else, like them, is going to have to make a pit stop. But they don't know about Harry Gant. And we heard Andy Petrie, the crew chief on the old bandit of Harry Gant, say that they was going to try to go the rest of the way.
Well, the Western Auto Mechanic of the Race Award has been announced, and it's Charlie McKay of the number 98 Banquet Crew. Congratulations to Charlie McKay, who's named the Mechanic of the Race from Western Auto. Here comes Dale.
Off the second corner, pulling alongside and pulling ahead of Daryl Waltrip, and Earnhardt goes back to the front.
Really got to get to that conversation down there. Just said, well, maybe maybe, you know, I only clocked each car, those two cars, a couple of laps apiece when Earnhardt was out front and then Daryl was out front, and I had him a little bit faster when Daryl was in front.
31 laps to go when they cross the stripe.
You know, he might have went back in front because he was pitting on down pit road. Daryl's pitting as you immediately go on pit road. Earnhardt has to go on past. Well, Daryl Waltrip would slow him down too much. So if he gets back in front, he's able to go on to his pit, and then Daryl go to his pit instead of having to slow down while Daryl slowed down. Did you understand what I said?
Yeah, it's clear as mud.
I'm not sure.
Now you see Michael Walker coming into the picture. He's beating that big pack of cars. He's running in third place. He pulls down behind some of those regular cars, trying to pick up a little draft off of them. Now he has cut about a second off of their lead in the last 5 laps.
And there is Harry Gant running at the back of this line of cars. But again, we remind you that there's a possibility that Harry can go all the way without a fuel stop. We know everybody else is going to have to make one.
Well, this is a long time down the road, but one tough break that Harry Gant could get. When all these cars pit, and watch Mickey Gibbs go by, when all these cars pit and leave Harry out there with no one to draft with. And Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip could hook up.
Yep.
And maybe catch him. So that's the one thing that he has to be careful about, that is he has someone to draft, but there's nothing he can do about it.
And most of the cars that are on the racetrack are in that group that he's running with.
And when they all pit, he's going to be by himself.
Let's go to Jerry Punch, who's with Richard Childress.
Well, Harry Gant may feel like the Maytag repairman pretty soon because they're teaming up against him here a little bit. Now, RC, the discussion with Jeff Hammond, you guys could actually go a little longer, but you're going to try to pit together, maybe 168, 69, somewhere along in there?
Yeah, we picked the lap we're going to pit on. We'll be in the 1 can window where each car will only need 1 can of fuel. And then, you know, we're just going to have to go from there. It looks like Harry will be able to make it. It's going to be real close to Harry, I think.
So you guys are just going to try to ride it out and conserve as much fuel as possible with Dale leading and then DW leading?
No, right now we were a little faster with us in front, so we switched back right there, you know, where we can try to pull away from that other pack. We want to at least get back in third if Harry slips in there.
Apparently that's the strategy. 169. They're going to have the 17 car and the 3 car come in and pit together and take their best shot at beating Harry Gant.
And that is exactly 10 laps from now. 159 are on the board. We have a tremendous situation developing here. Who'll win the Winston 500 here at Talladega? We're back at Talladega in the closing laps of the Winston 500 for 1991. Dale Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip are drafting with each other in first and second position. Michael Waltrip remains third, Sterling Marlin fourth, and Jimmy Spencer is running in 5th position. In about 8 more laps, these 2 cars are scheduled to come in for their final pit stop.
It will be gas only, and as Richard Childress said, they're in the 1 can window. That means they put in 1 can of fuel, 1 complete can, and be able to go the rest of the way.
Now we're talking how far they are behind, how far they are ahead of this group back here.
That's Harry Gant. They're 7.7 seconds in front of Harry Gant.
Now, when I said a moment ago that Michael Waltrip and them had closed in about a second on them, since then, Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip have opened it up about 2 seconds from what they were. So they've moved away from that pack a little bit once Earnhardt got back in front. Even though I said at one point that when Daryl was in front, they were running faster. That was just for a lap or so. It could have been another car or something like that. I don't know.
There could have been a slow car in front that they got just a little bit of draft off of. That would have made a lot of difference. There's Rusty Wallace.
Do it again. By the way, we can't time at the start-finish line because of the placement of our cameras, so we're using that gray line there at that pit entrance to be our interval line. And it's, ooh, boy, from 7.7 to 8.2.
Well, Brett Bodine passed Harry Gant in 1 and 2 that time, and that Harry had to back off the gas because of that. And there was a half second.
Both of these guys, former winners here at Talladega, both have won so far this year in Winston Cup competition. As a matter of fact, Dale Earnhardt has won twice this year. Last weekend at Martinsville, won Richmond, Daryl Waltrip was the winner at Bristol. By the way, while we watch this action on the racetrack, we can tell you that the number 4 car, Bernie Irvin, that sat on the pole, is going for the second leg of the Winston Million, and the Unocal bonus money is back on the racetrack after having been involved in that incident on the backstretch. Eliminated, or at least affected 17 cars.
He was one of the 3 cars that initiated it. He and Kyle Petty and Mark Martin got together.
Nothing has changed. Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip running first and second. Meanwhile, Michael Waltrip was running third a moment ago, still is.
And we've talked about Daryl a lot, but Michael deserves his credit too because he is running third. Right behind him is a 22 car of Sterling Marlin, and it's running fourth.
Every car on the racetrack has to pit, as far as I know, with the exception of Harry Gant and Rick Mast.
I would say every car, that is those that are running in the lead lap at least.
And we understand that the 30 car, 22 of Michael Waltrip and Sterling Marlin are planning on pitting together. And we see Jeff Bodine coming in the picture on the outside.
Yeah, Bodine's picking up a couple positions. He passes Bobby Hamilton.
He's on the scoreboard for the first time today, running in 5th place now. Jeff Bodine, the Budweiser Ford.
Have we forgotten about Jeff? This car usually gets very good fuel mileage.
I just checked a moment ago. He stopped on 123. So he has to go 65 laps, and that's going to be a lot hard to do.
Michael Waltrip, another good run in the Pennzoil car today. Started 20th. Rather fell to 25th at the end of 30 laps, but then look at his progression. To lap 60, he moved up to 7th. 120, he was 3rd, and continues to run in 3rd position here on lap 166.
Well, he got to 3rd spot, and he got behind Earnhardt and Waltrip, and that's just as far as he could go because those two guys, Earnhardt and Waltrip right now have the best cars in the field. As good as any, I should say.
Sixth is Spencer, then Schroeder, then 68 of Hamilton, then Bill Elliott, and then Harry Gant.
Gant running in 9th place, 9 cars in the field.
I'll show you something real interesting. Look behind the 33 car is the 1. That's the car with Rick Mast. And as I said a little bit ago, that car is owned by brothers. Leo Jackson owns the 33, Richard the 1. I think the 1 has moved back to help that 33 draft.
Yeah, absolutely. About 3 laps ago, Benny, he pulled over and let the others go. He almost dropped too far back off, about to lose the draft, but he's picked back up now, so he's helping Harry Gant. I think it is better to have a car on your back bumper to save a little more gas than if you were running by yourself. And then when those others pit, he will have himself a drafting partner.
One concern that he had has went out the window because Rick Mast is going to be there. Because remember, they pitted the same time.
Right.
Now, Rick Mast gave up a couple of positions when he did that. When he backed off and let some cars pass him, Brett Bodine was one of them, and Bobby Hamilton. They have moved up now. Hamilton running 10th, Brett Bodine 11th, and Rick Mast 12th. They're all 1 lap down.
But again, those 2 cars have to stop, and Rick Mast, I don't believe, doesn't because he and Harry stopped together.
Right.
How did Bobby Hamilton get lapped? Just got out of the draft?
Yeah, he did.
Got out of the draft.
Yeah, Brett was lapped, and then not too long after that, Bobby was lapped.
Because that car ran so good early on.
Sure did. Harry's never won at this track. His best finish was his second in 1989.
Getting awfully close to that window for the 3 car, the 17 car, 3 laps.
Yep, they were supposed to come in on lap 169, and this would be lap 169.
Looks like they're coming in.
Here they come, right on schedule. Daryl Waltrip comes in, and so does Dale Earnhardt, the guys that are running first and second. Let's go to Jerry Punch for the call.
Let's see if Earnhardt can get the good race Chevrolet stopped exactly as he needs to be able to get fuel in the car. Waltrip on the bottom of your screen, Earnhardt on top, and they have put 1 can of fuel in. He gave the entire can of fuel in. Waltrip is now gone. He's coming down pit road. Earnhardt is moving away. These 2 cars will head back to turn 1 and try to draft back as close to the front as possible.
About a 7.2-second pit stop for Earnhardt. Just 1 can of fuel was
is all they need to go the distance.
But it must be 25 seconds to stop and get back up to speed again. Bill Elliott, meantime, has made a pit stop. He's going back on the track. As you watch Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip right behind him, trying to get back up to speed.
These restrictor plates make it much slower getting back to speed. Now the lead goes to Michael Waltrip in car number 30. The 22 car of Sterling Marlin runs in second position. Third is Ken Schrader, but these guys may be coming in next time around.
And we've already had a report that Michael Waltrip and Sterling Marlin were planning to pit together.
Was in that group just a moment ago. He's made a pit stop. And Jimmy Spencer came in with him, so both those cars. Meanwhile, Dave Marcus has blown an engine down in turn 1. I don't know if that's going to cause a caution, but he's slow in turn 2.
And you can see Michael Waltrip waving to the drivers behind him that he was thinking about coming in for a pit stop, and indeed he does. Here comes Michael and Sterling Marlin pitting together. Down slowly on pit road. Jerry Punch once again.
Bill Engel and the rest of the Pennzoil crew waiting Michael Waltrip to bring that big bright yellow Pontiac in. Car number 22, Sterling Marlin is already gone. Pit road, and Marlin is trying to come back to speed, and now Michael Waltrip cannot catch Sterling Marlin. He smokes the tires, and now they will both get back in line into turn 1.
Yeah, Sterling is going to have an advantage on Michael as they come out.
Meanwhile, as Sterling goes into turn 1, here comes Waltrip and Earnhardt, so they're going to go by him.
Yeah, they made Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip made a better combined pit stop than these two did, because they aren't going to hook up together again, where Earnhardt and Daryl came out together and they're hooked up and safe.
Lead goes to Ken Schrader in car number 25. 171 laps. We're 17 away from the end of the Winston 500 at Talladega, and we'll be right back. Winston Cup Racing, the Winston 500, live from Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama, now with just 14 more laps to go. Our Speed World coverage is being brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. By Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. The leader is Ken Schrader in car number 25. He's drafting on his teammate Ricky Rudd, who remains 2 laps down and has been virtually all race long. There is Harry Gant right behind Ken Schrader, and his teammate Rick Mast runs right behind him.
But Ken Schrader and Ricky Rudd are going to have to make pit stops. And Harry Gant and Rick Mast may not have to.
5 more laps, we understand, before those Henry cars come in for a stop. The 17 and the 3 cars remain running together. They are anything but teammates, but they have been hooked up and drafting partners for a long time now.
Now, when they came out of the pits, Dale Earnhardt was in the lead by about 5 or 6 car lengths. Daryl caught him and passed him.
And Earnhardt has tried to get by Daryl a couple of times, not been able to make that move.
What this essentially boils down to is Harry Gant is going to win the race if he doesn't have to stop for fuel. If he does have to stop for fuel, it'll be a contest between these 2 guys.
Exactly. Pretty simple terms, isn't it?
That's about the way it is, and we'll know the outcome in, what, 15 laps?
16.
15 and a half. We're on the back.
Okay, 15 and a half. The third car back, the green and white car, is Skull Bangor, Harry Gant. If he can just have enough fuel to last 16 more laps, can win this thing.
51 years of age.
Now, talking about drafting partners, fellas, there's a couple more. The Junior Johnson cars. Michael Waltrip might mess that up, though. But Jeff Bodine and Sterling Marlin have been drafting together, and Michael trying to get down on the inside.
He might have him now down in turn 1. Michael runs so good on the bottom.
Boy, he does.
See, his spotter said, go up, go up. and right in front of Jeff Bodine.
He had that car right on almost the apron of the racetrack and then headed for the top of the banking and took the position away from Jeff Bodine. Here comes Bill Elliott challenging Jimmy Spencer.
Yes, sir. That was definitely help from above that told him to move up to those spotters.
There are Spencer and Elliott running side by side.
Would you fellas say that there's 15 or 16 laps to go?
11 now.
11 now. It's only a 188 lap race, and they're on the 172.
172. It was 172 just a moment ago.
Well, I think that's, you either looked at it wrong or the score was wrong.
Okay, 11 laps to go. Schrader coming in with Rudd, his drafting partner. The Hendrick cars make their way onto pit road. Now, Ricky, his pit is closer to turn 4. Schrader has to come all the way down here to pit end near turn 1.
We saw Rudd move over quickly and let Schrader go by. If they had not been teammates, he would have held him out there as long as he could.
See, Ricky already had his service, had the gas put in before Schrader got to his pit. Now Ricky coming down. They're going to get out in pretty good shape running together.
Here comes Rudd pulling ahead of his teammate Schrader and saying, come on, Kenny, let's hook up and go.
Yeah, they'll be able to hook up together. If Rudd has to, he'll back off, but I don't think he's going to need to.
Meanwhile, Daryl and Earnhardt just went by as they're exiting, going in the second corner, coming off the second corner now. Daryl and Earnhardt are going down the back straightaway.
Meanwhile, here's Harry Gant with now Mast running ahead of him.
Because you can save a little more fuel running behind than you can in front.
10 laps to go.
So it's a matter now of whether he can. There's Andrew Petrie, the crew chief, talking to Harry Gant, and it's a matter of whether he can make the distance or not. If there are no cautions, he's going to win this race if he can go on the fuel race. Right now, he is about 23 seconds ahead of Daryl Waltrip.
Well, we had a battle of the ages a few weekends ago. Holyfield and involved in a boxing match, and now we've got a 50, with Foreman, and now we've got a 51-year-old leading this race.
Well, how high is their confidence level?
It's there if they need it, just in case.
That thing spits, Harry will have no choice but hit the pit road.
Harry Gant is the leader.
This has been a real chess match today, trying to find cars, trying to figure out how to run together, and really find your partners.
Really been a bizarre weekend here. Just one thing after another, including the 17-car pileup that we had earlier in the race that brought out the red flag and resulted in a broken leg to Kyle Petty, who's being treated at Caraway Medical Center north of Birmingham. It'll be 7 to go when they hit the line. 181 laps complete. Where are Earnhardt and there they are.
They're up coming off the fourth corner while Harry Gant's down between 1 and 2. That's in turn 4.
Yeah, they can't catch Harry unless he runs out of gas. He is too far ahead of them now, regardless of how fast they're running. If they're running a second to lap faster than he is, they're not going to catch him unless he runs out of gas.
There's some cars that was involved in that crash Bob was talking about just a moment ago.
Ernie Irvin did re-enter the race, but has since gone behind the wall once again. 9 cars remain on the lead lap.
A lot of success catching that 17 car. He's passing him off to his car.
Here's Gant again, right on the back of his #1 teammate, Rick Mast.
I got my stopwatch running again, fellas, to see. We said a moment ago it was 23 seconds as Earnhardt makes a move down on the inside of Daryl Waltrip, but couldn't do it that time. And now they've chopped it down to about 21 3/4 seconds. So they are gaining on Harry Gant, but there's not enough time left to gain all of that distance.
Less than 6 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt, by the way, was going for 3 wins in a row here at Talladega. Buddy Baker won 3 in a row in 1975 and 76. Both of these guys, Waltrip and Earnhardt, have each won 4 different events at Talladega.
He's completed another lap. He's down to 5.
Here's a trivia question for you. With Harry Gant leading in an Oldsmobile, he was the last driver to win in an Oldsmobile here at Talladega. He has a famous racing name, let's put it that way.
Well, we know who that was.
He was driving that one car. He had 55 on the side of it.
Bill Parsons, last to win in an Oldsmobile here at Talladega. These cars running for position. Yep. Sterling Marlin, Michael Waltrip, and Jeff Bodine, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
He led is a couple laps down. Spark plug wire fall off early in the race. They stopped and put it back on, but he lost 2 laps doing it.
And has not been able to make up either of them.
Sterling Marlin got a little bit of advantage on Michael Waltrip, but I don't think it was enough.
Boy, the hats off award has to go to Sterling Marlin for finishing or at least running 4th right now toward the end of the race in his first full race back from the Burns at Bristol.
Not too far behind them is the 7th place car of Jimmy Spencer, and then comes Ken Schrader and Bill Elliott. There's Spencer in the red car. Bill Elliott's not too far behind, or Ken Schrader really is right on his bumper, and then Bill Elliott.
There again, just went by, guys. 3 more.
By the way, Jimmy Spencer would be having his 4th top 10 finish in a row. Jimmy Spencer would be. Now Gant continues to circle out there and hoping that he can complete just 2.5 more laps. If he can, he'll win the Winston 500. The car may have sputtered here in the tri-oval. Let's continue to watch and see if Harry can stretch his fuel mileage and drive to victory lane, or whether it's going to be Daryl Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt battling for the finish.
He didn't stop this time.
2 laps to go. A little over 5 miles from victory for Harry Gant.
Be running a little bit closer than that to get the full effect of the draft. I'm sure he's getting some help. But,
what he needs is Rick to slow down.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to speed up.
Harry will get the white flag next time by. The other battle on the racetrack is for that 2nd spot, and it's Earnhardt and Daryl Waltrip going at it.
I was sworn that Harry Gant looked like he was going to...
Rick Mast might be out of gas.
Oh, Mast is high on the racetrack, and Harry passes him. Wow, now this may affect Harry.
Maybe he's not out of gas. I don't know. Maybe he's going to try to push it.
Maybe Harry knows
out of gas.
Maybe
Harry. You can't do that. That's not legal.
Maybe Harry knows he has enough fuel and wants to help his partner make it to the finish. Well, in any case, the white flag is out for Harry Gant. 1 more lap to go. Will he make it? He sets the car into turn number 1 for the final time, and the fans that came here on this Monday to watch this race are up and cheering for the 51-year-old from Taylorsville, North Carolina, showing the younger guys how it's done. Now, he has been warned that Rick Mast cannot push that car to the finish line. He has to cross the line on his own. Is he doing it right now, or is it a tight draft?
I think it's just a tight draft. I don't know.
Well, they're separated, so Harry is still on the gas, and he's got some in it. Here he comes off of corner number 4. Remember, the start-finish line is way down past the tri-oval.
He's out of gas, I
believe he can coast the rest of the way.
Can he do it? Can he coast the rest of the way?
Well, is that one car pushing him now?
That's nope, they're separated. They're separated at this moment. Here comes Harry Gant down for the checkered flag, and he wins it. And Rick Mast moved to the inside to make sure that NASCAR saw that he was not pushing him. Here's the other battle. Daryl Waltrip, it appears, is going to win the battle for 2nd position. He finishes 2nd. Dale Earnhardt is 3rd. Here comes 4th, 5th, and 6th.
And 7th.
Marlin, Waltrip, Jeff Bodine, and Ken Schrader finish in that order. Let's go to John Kernan, who's with Andy Petrie.
Andy, I tell you, it looked like you almost got a little push here in the triangle from that one car. How close was it?
Well, we're trying to get Rick out from behind him. You know, Harry wanted to back off the gas to save the gas, and then Rick's right behind him. You know, he wasn't pushing him, but he was almost.
You guys aren't real happy right now, are you?
What do you think?
You said you needed some luck, but you made it on your own today by stretching his fuel stop.
Yeah, I tell you, we've had a lot of luck lately, but it's all been bad. We've only got some good luck.
Well, head on down to Victory Lane. Thanks a lot, Andy. Congratulations.
Harry Gant wins the Winston 500 by stretching his fuel mileage and beating Daryl Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt. There is the winner of the Winston 500. Harry Gant from Taylorsville, North Carolina, has a big smile on his face. Here's Jerry Punch.
Well, Harry Gant sitting in the car here, and the crew celebrating in the background. Charlie Presley, and we'll let Harry climb out. A well-deserved celebration going on down here. Let's listen a second here. Oh, my goodness. Harry, congratulations on a great effort.
Well, thank you. We just try to stay out of trouble, stay at the back, and just getting the gas mileage after we made the stop there. They said we go all the way if we save fuel. And the whole last 40 laps, I just was running like hand throttle in that draft, and somebody went by, let them go by because I didn't want to use the fuel, and then it started running out on me. 5 to go, the fuel pressure started fluctuating. But Rick had backed off a lot. He and I both were probably running a little over half throttle there. And so then he pulled over for me to go by, and he had to bump me a lot of times to get me on around the last lap.
When did it finally quit? When you know you knew you were going to make it?
Coming off a 4, or going into, well, it quit a bunch. It quit in there in 1 and 2, then it quit again down the backstretch, and Rick gave me a good boot, and it got me going, and then going in 3, it cut off, and he got it's hard for him to get again. All 4 it wouldn't run any, and down the year it wasn't running any. So he gave me a good push, but they're just tolling my seconds out to me and tell me how far I was ahead, you know. And we lost one of the members of the Skull Classic team, Hugo, passed away, and we like to ask people prayers for Hugo, and hope to have our prayers for George Bush that he gets better tomorrow then. And the crew just done a super job the other day.
Harry Gant wins the Winston 500, and they talk about 40-something with Nolan Ryan and George Foreman. How about 50-something, Bob?
There are the results, and by virtue of his 3rd place finish, Dale Earnhardt is back on top of the point standings. For Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, Dr. Jerry Punch, and John Kernan, thanks for being with us. This is Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.